TSM Plus.
That
actually, I think we did like a morning show during the Christmas holidays. Maybe you're in Vancouver, I think.
That might make sense. Yeah,
I
did
the
quite a
last
few
time
of
you
those
and I
morning
worked together.
shows.
Yeah,
Doing a morning show on Toronto radio while based in Vancouver, I wouldn't recommend it. But it's nice that technology.
3 a.m., 2:30 a.m. wake up call for you.
Yeah, I mean, I take a long time with the coffee. It's a little bit earlier, and the hair is still combed and brushed before, even though it's radio. But yeah, it's a little bit of earlier of a wake up call. But
we're good to go here.
Happy to be here. In
4
person.
o'clock start time. We're ready to go.
You know, yeah. This is the first Friday in August, right? Or was because
no, August 1st was a Friday.
August 1st was Friday. All right, so there we go. Already off to a great start. The second Friday in August, but it does feel like this still feels like a long weekend. I feel like this second weekend of August.
Interestingly enough, it does. And I don't know if it's because like I got plans this weekend. I got a little like guys trip booked going up to
where are we going?
for a couple of days. Just down at KU. I got a buddy who's got a place down there. But whenever you go on a weekend trip, it does feel like a long weekend. And you and I were traveling in here down the 401. That felt like long weekend traffic. It was insane traveling down the 401 today, trying to get to work. The DVP, brutal today. Holy smokes.
I spent an entire month in New York for a Club World Cup, and I was staying in Manhattan in Hell's Kitchen. We went to MetLife Stadium, New Jersey, almost every day. I can tell you only once in an entire month did I feel like I was in Toronto because traffic was that bad.
People talk about New York traffic, LA traffic. I've been to both of those places. Toronto during rush hour is worse than both.
Yeah, absolutely.
Toronto during rush hour is like, I would argue, in North America at the very least, worst traffic jams in North America.
And the hardest part is that it's not exclusive to rush hour. If it was only rush hour, I can understand that.
I was driving up here at 1:30 in the afternoon, and it was bumper to bumper up the DVP the whole way.
Look, there were a lot of impacts, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but the impact on Toronto traffic is immeasurable.
No.
And it is one of the worst. One of the worst.
It didn't take long for the traffic to get built back up, because I was traveling up here every day during COVID. I was one of the few lucky ones who didn't get to work remote. I had to come in every day back when we were doing the updates and stuff. And it was actually a nice drive coming in. I was coming in from Niagara at the time, too. I was able to pop in here in like an hour and a half, 40 minutes or so. Not anymore. You're looking at a solid 2.5 hour drive. If I'm coming up from night, it's an hour to get here from downtown.
Yeah, it's
like it should be a 25-minute drive, no traffic. But you leave afternoon, you're looking at a 45 to 50-minute drive up here.
Well, if you're in the car right now, we promise to entertain you for 3 hours.
We'll do our best.
For what could be maybe a 30-minute drive that will take you 3 hours if you happen to be in Toronto. I am going to drive west tomorrow. I'm going to take my son, who's 2.5 and baseball obsessed, to see the Detroit Tigers.
Nice.
Yeah.
Who are they playing this weekend?
They're playing the Angels this weekend, which is also special because his favorite movie is Angels in the Outfield.
Oh, I love that. But that was one of my favorite movies as a kid, too.
It's still one of my favorite movies as an adult, and more so as a father now. And, so that'll be special. I'm looking forward to that, to share that ballpark. I grew up in Windsor. I spent a lot of time at Comerica, man.
Oh, yeah.
And the Tigers were a bad team for a long time, and I feel like Jays fans and Tigers fans can often share in, like, you think your team's going to be good, and then they're not, and now they're both
good.
So both dad and son can be extra happy.
And they're both taking on LA-based teams this weekend.
A bit ironic, isn't it?
It is.
It's ironic.
Yeah.
To see Max Scherzer, a Detroit Tiger great, playing for the Blue Jays, to go up against Clayton Kershaw tonight, that's worth staying up for. Regardless of what your plans are, make sure you catch that.
Well, luckily it's a Friday night, so most people got nothing going on tomorrow, you don't have to wake up early, stay up for this one.
Yeah.
This is going to be special. Like, I'm so fired up for this match. I've been talking about this game since like Tuesday.
Really?
When I found out that the probable pitchers, I went and I checked. We got Scherzer, Kershaw.
They're not at their
kick
best.
it off on. No, they're not.
The twilight years.
They're not
is
what
that
they,
what makes
right,
it
yes.
extra special for you? That's what you're more excited about? You're hanging on to?
It's probably going to be the final time we see these two go up against one another.
Yep.
Like, I mean, if we get lucky, maybe we see them pitch against each other in a World Series.
That
this
would be
year.
pretty special.
That would be special, but I'm not sure that. I mean, it'd be tough for both of them to crack the World Series starting rotation. More so, I think Kershaw at this point. It's a quality staff they have down there in LA. But this could be the last time. I think it's the first time ever that we're seeing a pitching matchup between two starters who have both thrown over 3,000 strikeouts in their career. First time in Major League history.
Unbelievable.
I think it's going to be the last time. I think it's going to be the only time. I think this is history that we're going to be watching tonight. Now, are they going to?
I think I'm really hanging on. I feel the same way about Ronaldo and Messi and LeBron.
Yeah.
You know, I felt that way about Brady. You're really like trying to savor it because you know that it's ending.
Well, we were having that conversation yesterday, AK and I, funny enough, because talking about like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander last night, they celebrate him in Hamilton. It's like, this kid is younger than both of us, but he's being celebrated. Like, with all the, like, and what are we doing? And you look at Vicky Mboko, 18 years old, wins the National Open last night. It's like, what were we doing at 18 years old?
Yeah.
Like, it's a time to kind of look back and think about, man, the what athletes are doing at such a young age right now is incredible. And, you know, most even hockey players, like their heyday is in their mid-20s. So it's like most prime athletes are now under me as well. Like, they're now younger than I am. So I'm getting to that point now too.
Some dad advice. Comparison doesn't do you any good, my man.
No,
comparison doesn't do you any good. But yes, if you needed a reason to feel old, Vicky Mboko, who won the National Bank Open, beating Naomi Osaka last night in what was a thrilling final.
It's what she did this entire tournament. Youngest player ever to beat 4 Grand Slam winners en route to a championship. To do it on Canadian soil as a Canadian, to do it against Naomi Osaka, who. And Mboko even came out and said, like, this is someone who I watched growing up, that I admired growing up in my younger years. To be able to beat her in the fashion she did, in comeback fashion, like, got smoked in the opening set. It was, what, 6-2, I think, was the opening set.
I think, yeah.
And then came back, won the second set, battled, forced the third set, got all the way to a point break, and then she took over in that point break. That one break point that she had, where she just lunged out after Osaka tried the drop shot.
Yeah.
And she goes out with a little counter drop shot of her. Osaka was in disbelief that like, I think that's where she lost. She knew that she was going to lose at that point. Because you watch her face off that drop shot. She was ready to walk off the court, thinking, like, got that point. All right, I got that game. We can continue to go.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, no, that's not what happened, actually. She kept it alive and then went on to win the next 3 points and won the tournament. Like, it was unbelievable. I think we're showing it. Here's
to the TV audience.
Yeah,
she turned to the
TV
referee
audience.
in complete disbelief.
She couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that she got there to get that. Like, that was unbelievable. That was one of those moments, though, where you look and you just say, she took that. This is the shot right here, making that shot right there. And look at her. Unbelievable. And Naomi Osaka thought, that's a point. She's about to walk off the court. And then she looks back and she's like, did she just get that?
Yeah.
Did she get that point?
Straight to the ref.
Unbelievable. But that's a moment where Mboko was like, I'm not losing.
Yeah.
I've come this far. I've come back against Naomi Osaka, came back against Rybakina the night before. I've made it this far.
Beat Coco Gauff.
Beat Coco Gauff. I'm doing whatever I could possibly do to win this title. And that shot was unbelievable.
There's a fearlessness that makes what she did pretty special.
Yeah.
And in part, I think what made last night particularly difficult for Naomi Osaka. Because there was a time where Naomi Osaka was in a very similar situation to Vicky Mboko. And
the Serena Williams.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And part of what made, I think, the Naomi Osaka story special and made her very successful in her early 20s, and this is the case not exclusive to tennis, but in a lot of sports, and particularly individual sports, where it's that fearlessness that they can lean in and have that extra gear, find that extra gear. And the difficult thing is, at what age do you lose that? And I think for Naomi Osaka, that came, with a lot of baggage. There was a lot of weight with the success. She's been very open about the mental health struggles and how difficult it was, and coming back as a mom. Like all of those things play a factor. But that fearlessness that she saw, I think Osaka knew that she had lost that match in the second set.
In the second set,
she knew.
Yeah.
As soon as maybe even when she took the 6 point. In the second set, she's like, I am not winning.
No.
And it was just a struggle. And you can see it in her body language and the way she was.
And even post-match, I mean, there was, I think we have the clip here of Osaka post-match, which ruffled the feathers of a lot of Canadians. This was Osaka and I guess didn't mention Mboko. Here's what she had to say.
I guess. I don't really want to take up too much time, so I'll just say thank you to everyone. Thank you to my team. Thank you to the ball kids. Thank you to the organizers and all the volunteers. And I hope you guys had a good night.
So I'll say this with the caveat that she did just lose a very important match, right? It's the first time she'd made a final since she'd returned to tennis after giving birth, and she struggled a little bit. So I'm sure it was an emotional loss for her, obviously. Mm-hmm. But you kind of just brought something up a moment ago where she had that moment years ago with Serena Williams. And do you remember how that tournament kind of ended? Remember Serena was barking at the official and she had lost the point.
Yeah.
And then Serena made it all about her. And the story wasn't necessarily about Osaka, this young up-and-coming.
The crowd was booing Osaka.
They were
winning
booing
points.
her when she won because Serena had lost the point, and they were saying there was putting an asterisk on it.
Yeah.
And then this young 18-year-old who Osaka knew looked up to her, beat her in a final in front of her home fans. And then to kind of act like that and sulk about it, knowing how much that could hurt you, knowing how much that hurt her when Serena had that situation. Oh, it kind of irks me a little bit.
I think in the moment, but you're not thinking about anybody.
You're not.
I think, and that's where we can criticize. It's like you couldn't separate yourself and the feeling of loss for a split second to congratulate someone that in many ways could remind you of yourself.
Yeah.
But that you and you were very much made aware, looked up to you. And I think she's also struggling with that. We were talking about age at the beginning here.
Yeah.
When she was told that in the press conference, she said, I don't know if I'm comfortable with already playing people that idolize me. Like, I don't feel like I've lived enough. I don't feel like I've played enough to get to that level. Yeah. And everybody struggles with age. Some people find turning 30 hard. Some people find turning 40 hard. I'm not at 40 yet, but I think I'm going to find it pretty hard. So I can kind of relate to that. But I also expected someone who's achieved as much as her, but also kind of just understands what it's like to be in that situation, that all you needed was a nod. Like, because I'm sure, and she apparently told the Montreal Gazette today, Naomi Osaka, look, I forgot in the moment. I was really caught up.
Yeah, afterwards she congratulated her.
What a player, what a win. Like, very happy for her and congratulations. But it would have been nice if just in the moment, even if it was just a look to her and be like, congrats, you won a good one.
Right.
Like, it's just feels like that was deserved.
Yeah.
Vicky Mboko certainly earned that, right?
100% she did.
Mm-hmm.
It was an amazing, it's a great story, and it's awesome for Canadian tennis, who has been craving for like a star ever since Bianca Andreescu. Like, that's the last time that we've truly had like a Canadian star win something like this. Mm-hmm. Like, I know like Leilani Fernandez, she win last week also, but it's like it wasn't as noteworthy of a tournament. You know what I mean? But when you can win the National Open on home soil, everybody's tuned into this. Like, Twitter was ablaze last night watching Mboko make that big comeback, win that second set, force a third, and then absolutely take over and dominate when she got there. Congrats. I mean, congratulations to Mboko. It was a terrific tournament, and I think that she's got a very long career ahead of her. I think she started the year ranked 333rd best women's tennis player in the world.
Unbelievable.
She jumped up to 24th with the win.
She'll be seated at the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, when we often say meteoric rise for this young star, for this young player, like, that is the only possible definition for Vicky Mboko.
Did you see the video of here in Toronto when the crowd found out that Mboko had won in Montreal?
Yes, I did see it. As Ben Shelton was going at it. I think he was serving at the time.
He was, and I think we have it if we could play the video here, because it was kind of funny watching it. Ben Shelton sitting there, literally wondering, like, what's going on? What's going on? Here's the clip from last night.
Shelton's not sure what's going on.
No, the players are very confused. It's because the crowd just found out some pretty crazy news.
Outstanding news from Montreal. Vicky Mboko has won the National Bank Open, defeating Naomi Osaka. And look, that's the view from the big screen outside. And, of course, that runs through the crowd. It's going to be a bit of a delay right now.
I do love that. I can imagine. I love that the fans reacted that way, which is great.
Well, it was. Did you see the other clip though, where Shelton walks over to the umpire and he's like, "What's going on?" and leans over. Apparently, the Canadian player won in Montreal, and he's like, "Oh, okay." And then he's like, "Oh, all right, that's what's going on." But like, that's such Canadiana. Like, it's very Canadiana when that happens. It reminds me of the one time I was at a TFC game actually years ago. It was back in 2010, I want to say.
We got to get you back. It's been that long?
No, I've been to multiple games since. But this one particular instance, I was at a TFC game. I think it was like a school trip or something like that in high school. But I was there, and I think it was the night that the Montreal Canadiens eliminated the Washington Capitals, and it was an upset. And out of nowhere, you start hearing "Ole Ole" chants in the crowd in the middle of a TFC game. I think they were playing the Montreal Impact, too, to be funny. Funny enough. But in the middle of the game, they started hearing Ole Ole chants. And then you hear the whispers, Montreal just won. It was like kind of pre-smartphones. So like you didn't really know. But there's people who are listening to it in their little handheld radio while watching the game. And then you hear the whispers and the Ole Ole. Kind of reminded me of that.
That's one thing that my kid will never know, like the handheld radio at a game. Although maybe that is the case. What's disappointing is you could have it on your phone, but the delay is 30 seconds.
Yeah, you
at
can't.
Best.
You could not. It would drive me bananas. You can't watch the game there. Like I can't go and watch a Leaf game and listen to Bowen and be like 30 seconds delayed.
No,
even 8 seconds delayed would drive me bonkers. What's going on? So you can't watch the same game, but you could do it to another game. Like while you're watching the Dodgers this week or watching the Tigers this weekend, you could tune into to Jays and Dodgers and see what's cooking.
What would you think about that guy that's at one game and listening to another? Isn't it like cheating on your experience of being in the game?
It depends. I mean,
like, I think I get it. I'll give you an example where I would do that. Okay. Let's say I had consistent Tigers tickets, consistently went. Right? I got the flex pack. Blue Jays tickets, fine. And there's a World Cup semifinal or a quarterfinal or Portugal's just playing in general. But I've told whoever I'm with at the ball game, be it my son, my wife, my best friend, we're going to the ball game today. I'm like, you know what? That's fine. Then, like, I've done that before. I've watched a game or moments of a game on my phone, on the Bell 5 app. But I don't know if I could just be curious and be like, you know what, I'm watching the Tigers, but I also want to listen to what the Jays and the Dodgers are doing.
I've done this. I've done this. Like, I can tell you firsthand that I've been to a Blue Jays game or I've been to a Leaf game and I've streamed. Like, it's no longer the radio. You can quite literally stream it on your phone now.
Of course.
Streaming the other games that I want to watch, or if it's Actually, I was at a Leaf game. I used to cover the Leaf games on Thursday nights. You don't think I had the Thursday night football game on my computer that I could just take a peek at during the whistles and during intermissions? Absolutely, I was doing
whatever was appealing for your FanDuel's best bets, which
exactly,
we'll
or that, or when we were doing our bets with OverDrive with Luke and Hayes and O. I'm very invested in that stuff.
That is one of my favorite parts of the fall, by the way. I don't get to see you enough. We've exchanged a few text messages every fall, but I absolutely love the rivalry that you have with them, and that experience is pretty special.
It's coming up quick, though. We had preseason football last night. Week 1 kind of kicked off. My guy, Anthony Richardson, first drive, gets hurt. And I went on a diatribe yesterday on the show. We did like an NFL bowl predictions, AK and I. And I proclaimed that he was going to be the comeback player of the year. And I had this nice tangent prepared. And then he goes out there in the first drive and dislocates his pinky and doesn't return for the game. Yeah, that was gutting.
There's a lot of NFL stories, and I'm a Cleveland Browns fan, and the season it hasn't even started, and they feel pretty gutted. We'll talk NFL with Ryan Harris. We'll talk some CFL with Matthew Shinetti. You mentioned Toronto FC. Georgie Mijailovic wasn't available today. He's going to join us. This is OverDrive on TSN 1050.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Back on Overdrive on TSN 1050 and TSN 4. My name is Brendan Dunlop. Very happy to be in the chair on this Mail It In Friday with my man Al's brother, AB. Lots to get to, lots to talk about. And whenever I am fortunate enough to be on these airways, I always find a way, and there's always a reason to talk with my man, Mr. Football, Matthew Shinetti. And on a day like today, when we've got a Toronto FC star player on, when we've got national team players to talk about in the World Cup coming up oh so quick, 11 months away, and then a night in Hamilton like you had to celebrate one of Canada's best athletes right now in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Matthew Shinetti was right in the middle of it. What's up, Shooter? How are you, man?
Boys, how's our Friday going?
It's going pretty good now. It's just got better. You're on the show, my man. Tell me about things last night in the Hammer. What was it like? The exchange there on the field as Shai Gilgeous-Alexander thanked the crowd and lifted the Larry O'Brien trophy. That was pretty special. It looked good on camera. It must have been pretty special to be next to him.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me, Brendan, a few years ago, and I give my own hometown of Vaughan a shout-out here when Andrew Wiggins, who grew up literally just down the street from where I grew up, when he brought back the NBA title after winning it with the Golden State Warriors to the Dufferin Clark Community Center on Dufferin and Center there up there in Vaughan / Thornhill, and just kind of the reaction he got from the community. This was on another level, and I think it's for a couple of reasons. One, SGA is now the face of the NBA in a lot of ways. He's at the pinnacle of the sport. He is arguably next to Summer McIntosh, and certainly you can put Alphonso Davies in there. Those are the most recognizable international Canadian athletes right now. But just to see the outpouring of emotion in Hamilton, I've been very lucky in my career to go to the Hammer a lot, and beyond being as hard-nosed and hard-scrabbled and gritty a place as people might assume it to be, it is a very, very loyal town. And SGA is very loyal to the place that he comes from. He still trains, I hear, at the local YMCA every so often in the off-season. And to see him walk out in front of 24,500 fans, to see them all stand and applaud a native son of their city, and to see, as I was asking him, just his earnest responses about what it means to be a Hamiltonian. Hamiltonian or not, Canadian all across this country, you can certainly be proud of a guy who has not only accomplished nearly everything, and he's not done yet by any measure, but everything that you could want to accomplish in a professional basketball career, but to also see how loyal he is to his hometown, really, that's the Canadiana that fills everyone's hearts in terms of sports.
I mean, they put on an absolute show on the gridiron in front of SGA and the sold-out crowd there in Hamilton. Like, what a ball game we had. 41-38, game went to overtime. There were 10 different lead changes. Where does that stand? Like, could that be CFL Game of the Year territory?
I think the last two, Mikey, when you look at 2 weeks ago and the 10-point comeback in the final 4 minutes that the Ticats had over BC in Vancouver, and then you certainly look at what happened last night, and you peek over at the standings, maybe we're getting either, because of course there's that crossover rule that still exists in the CFL, and given how poor so far the records have been beyond the Montreal Alouettes and the Hamilton Tiger Cats at the top of the East, we could see this as a playoff matchup, and it would be a hell of a playoff matchup because obviously all the credit to what the Ticats are building. They had a couple short weeks dealing with a lot of injuries now they're going to have to figure out because they go, not to look too far ahead, they go into Regina to face the best team in the CFL right now, the Saskatchewan Roughriders. But facing the BC Lions, it brings out the best in both teams. And you got to tip your hat to Nathan Rourke. A local boy, too. I mean, he's not from Hamilton. He's kind of the Oakville-Burlington area, but a local boy, too, like SGA. And he showed out, man, the toughness that he had. The Ticats were coming at him. That defensive line was playing downhill all game. There really wasn't anything BC's offensive line could do to protect Rourke. And yet, every time you thought the Ticats had him and were going to bring him down, there's Rourke breaking contain. There's Rourke making a play. And as much as, they win in overtime, he threw what looked like a back-breaking interception inside the final 3 minutes. But I think we're starting to see that old Nathan Rourke again, just the guy who is so locked in, so systematic. And he comes in those not only the final minutes of the game, but also too in overtime. Obviously was aided by a Ticats fumble in their first overtime series. But he just looks like he's near the top of his game again. But so does Bo Levi Mitchell. So I can only hope, given the peculiarities of that crossover rule, that these two teams face each other again in the playoffs.
I'd sign up for it. I'd love to see them go against each other. Now, save us some time to get to the soccer talk, but is Nathan Rourke the best quarterback in the CFL right now?
I think it's Bo Levi Mitchell. I think it's Bo Levi Mitchell simply because he's playing as confident as he has since 2016. 35 years old, got receivers all across the field. He used a full assortment of them last night. And again, to see one of the reasons I think we saw the best out of Nathan Rourke is because, and I saw them have an exchange after the game, when Bo Levi Mitchell is playing the way he is, and frankly, this may be one of the last few years we see him at the top of his game. Just certainly professional sports and professional football in particular, and playing quarterback into your late 30s. But he's good right now. He's as good as it gets in the CFL. But you can't discount what Nathan Rourke has done, but also Trevor Harris too, and how accurate and systematic he's been, and consistent he's been in Saskatchewan. Those are my top three. But if Rourke continues to play like this, watch out. The Lions are going to be real tough to beat down the stretch.
Well, while we're on the topic of quarterbacks around the Canadian Football League, one that I'm kind of curious about is Trey Ford, who has lost his starting job to Cody Fajardo. And coming into the year, there was a lot of hype around him. He got that contract in Edmonton, and it was supposed to be him and Nathan Rourke, the two Canadian quarterbacks, to set the league ablaze. Hasn't quite happened. What do you think his future is like in Edmonton and in the Canadian Football League?
I think his future in the Canadian Football League is still... having a Canadian quarterback is certainly, you take a look at, Brandon Bridge spent a lot of time in the CFL and certainly had some pretty good performances playing, especially for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. But I don't know if we all really know who Trey Ford is yet in this league. And I don't know, we're getting to a point where, as you rightly say, Mikey, he has had everything go his way. Not only did he get the new contract, and he got a new coach, but he got his twin brother now. Tyrell is there as well, playing in defense. And yet it hasn't clicked. And this is not a criticism of him or his talent. But it does take – I've been around this league, lucky enough to have been around this league for a long, long time. There has to be a certain kind of buy-in as a quarterback when it comes to adversity. And there's been a lot of adversity thrown at Trey Ford over the last few years. And certainly, you can see the dysfunction that has occurred within the Edmonton Elks organization for a long time. They changed ownership last year, trying to find a level there in really a city where it was a lock that you would get 25, close to 30,000 people every single game, and they struggled to really at all bring anybody out there to Commonwealth Stadium. And you're trying to build a franchise around someone like Trey Ford. And their general manager, Ed Hervey, certainly made a statement, but it hasn't necessarily been met with, a commensurate amount of execution from Trey Ford. And he's got to look himself in the mirror because he's got the wheels, he's got the arm, he's got the intelligence, but he hasn't executed. And right now, that's on him.
Tomorrow night, Nick Arbuckle will be under center for the Argonauts, taking on the Red Blacks. Both teams desperately in need of a win. Like, how important is this tilt going to be for the Boatmen?
Massive. Of course, every game could be considered the game of the year and for the Argos going forward. But I'll steal a quote from Ottawa head coach Bob Dice. Spoke to him yesterday, and he said to me, myself and our analyst Dwayne Ford and Rod Smith, our play-by-play maestro, that we're coming to the point of the season where you start counting down the games instead of counting up the games. And our right did what he mentioned it this morning, that this is a team now, with the Argos, that he knows the effort is there. He knows the buy-in is there. He can feel a culture in the locker room, but it hasn't translated on the field nearly enough. You can look at that win against Winnipeg a few weeks ago and certainly see ingredients for what this team can do. But was that the Argos or was that the deficiency of the Bombers? Because the Bombers responded, especially Willie Jefferson last week. And as much as the Argos took them to the wire, Jefferson just broke their backs with the amount of passes that he knocked down. And if the Argos can't overcome a team like Winnipeg back-to-back and try to claw their way back in the East, it makes tomorrow's game incredibly crucial. But I think more so for Ottawa. Certainly, Ryan Dinwiddie can look at you and say, I don't have Chad Kelly. My offensive line's all over the place. I don't have my outstanding offensive lineman, Ryan Hunter. I've had issues on my defensive line. I've had injuries kind of sprinkled throughout the field. They're dealing with an injury to one of their great receivers, Kevin Mittal, right now. And yet, he can say, look at my body of evidence. I've taken them to 2 Grey Cup championships, always go to the East Final. This might be a mulligan year. On the flip side with Ottawa, Bob Dice can't say that. I mean, Drew Brown is a great quarterback. Everyone loves him across the league. But they haven't been able to build anything consistently. Sure, they get a win over Calgary last week, but was that Ottawa, or is it the fact that Calgary was playing a backup quarterback who clearly looked like a backup quarterback in the Canadian Football League? So it feels like a coin flip in terms of who it matters more to, but I lean more to Ottawa because their general manager, Sean Burke, has put a lot of work into revitalizing the lineup. They've had their injuries as well, but they don't have nearly as long a leash as Ryan Dinwiddie and the Argos have.
The Argos, I know it wouldn't be a proper TSN 1050 interview if we didn't ask you a Chad Kelly question. So my question to you is
it's mandatory now.
But like, are you anticipating the Argos just not being with Kelly the rest of the year at this point?
I'm getting close to it because the one thing that Ryan and I don't say that, I'm not saying that to say I don't think he'll come back at all, but the injury that he had is far more significant than I think we, and meaning us in the media, not that we didn't realize it, but that we really gave it credit for, because he broke his leg, like tibia, it just shattered on him. And when you're thinking about and I saw this injury, you talk about football, Brendan. I saw this injury to Tajon Buchanan as well, but it wasn't nearly as severe as what happened to Tajon Buchanan. Certainly Buchanan came back, could sprint, could shift, could change direction, no problem. That is the big issue with Chad Kelly. It's the weight. It's the resistance. It's the ability to escape the pocket. It's the ability to rely on that right leg when he needs it. And if he can't, that's an issue. And I don't fault the Argos, and Dinwiddie has said this, as much as they're paying attention to what's going to happen in this season, they're also very, very aware of the rest of Chad Kelly's career and certainly his life after football, and they don't want to put him in a situation where you break that again. That's no bueno. So how you look at it whole cloth and think, well, when is he going to be able to come back? He's back on the 6-game injured list right now. That kind of tracks to around Labor Day. That might be realistic. Kelly is splitting his time between Buffalo and Toronto, but we've had so many setbacks in this whole scenario, in this whole soap opera, that it's hard not to expect another one. Believe me, I have been on the sidelines. I can tell you, if Chad Kelly's chirping is any indication, he is raring to go and get back on the field. But I know the Argos are being very, very cautious. One, because they have the investment in him, but two, if he gets injured with that leg and there's a break or there's a compound or something, knock on wood, happens bad again, it would be pretty devastating, not only to the Argos, but specifically to Chad Kelly.
You mentioned Tajon Buchanan there as we switch to the other football, to soccer. He made his move to Villarreal. Ishmael Kone's made a move to Sassuolo. Jonathan David, the next star next to Alphonso Davies, he's made a big move to Juventus. All of those are impressive, but none is more surprising than Thomas Müller to the Vancouver Whitecaps. Put into perspective, Shanetti, for the OverDrive listeners, what it's like for the 2014 World Cup winner, the 2010 World Cup Golden Boot winner, 13-time Bundesliga champion, and friend of Alphonso Davies to come to MLS and pull on the old shirt that Fonzie used to wear at BC Place.
The Whitecaps are going all in, and it's not an insignificant move. Let's compare it to what Toronto FC did, and certainly I'm sure you're going to ask me Georgie Mijailovic, but I'll put that.
He'll be on the show later. We don't have the time, Shanetti. He'll be on the 6 o'clock hour.
I'll put his arrival on the shelf, and you can talk to him about that. But the fact is, Thomas Müller is one of the great winners in the history of European football, and I was having debates with people on social media. Who's the bigger signing? Is it Drogba and what he did, or Nesta and what he did for the Montreal Impact about a decade or so ago? Is it a 51-year-old Sir Stanley Matthews, who was one of the original legends of English football, coming over and playing for Toronto, if that was a big deal? Was it Eusebio, one of the big Ballon d'Or winners? And, Brendan, I'm sure your heart beats
Portuguese icon.
For a Portuguese icon like the great Eusebio. But Thomas Muller, everything he did, every time he stepped on the field for Germany or for Bayern, was about winning. And he plays a position on the field that allows him to be the most athletic, to be the biggest facilitator, and to be a guy who could start a play and finish a play. And when you think about what the head coach of the Vancouver Whitecaps, Jesper Sorensen, has built this season, and how tactically efficient, how fast, how just irresistible Vancouver has looked at times, and even their run, including the run all the way to the CONCACAF Champions Cup final, he just adds a little bit of luster that's going to help Ali Ahmed. It's going to help Jaden Nelson. It'll even help Brian White. And I fully expect that when, these things may not translate initially. Thomas Muller is in his mid-30s. He's going to be getting used to the travel of Major League Soccer, which Wayne Rooney many years ago talked about being something that he didn't appreciate, having to travel from the West Coast, as far west as they are in the Northwest in Vancouver, all across the Major League Soccer map. But when you see Thomas Muller, and when you saw him in those World Cups where he scored 10 goals and he's the 10th all-time leading scorer in the tournament and he lifted the World Cup, he just exudes this confidence of, I'm going to outwork everyone and win. And in terms of winners, he is one of the most likable winners in European soccer. And I know for a fact, given the culture and some of the players who play for the Vancouver Whitecaps, he's going to fit in perfectly there. And it is a notice to the whole league because they're in the race for the Supporters' Shield. They're certainly in the race. They're facing Forge FC this week in the Canadian Championship. But the Vancouver Whitecaps want that MLS Cup. And what it will do, not just for the Whitecaps, but for the city of Vancouver as it prepares for the World Cup, to have a World Cup winner there, it's priceless.
In 30 seconds, your take on the $8 million that Toronto FC has spent to bring Georgie Mijailovic to Toronto to BMO Field, and now they have a designated player for the first time in 40 days.
This is a huge, significant step for Georgie Mijailovic. I watched him. He was a big piece of that CF Montreal team a few years ago that had Alistair Johnston and had Ismail Kone and had Kamal Miller in it, that pushed, had a deep run in the MLS playoffs, and then he went over to Holland. It didn't really work for him there. Then he went back to Colorado. This, as much as it's a big move for Toronto FC, it's a bigger move for Mijailovic because if he's being listed now as a designated player, that means they're going to build a team around him. And in his midfield role or attacking midfield role, he's going to be super, super influential. But if this doesn't work, wow, I have no idea where Toronto FC go from here because they have tried a new designated player. They've gone ahead and let go of Lorenzo Insigne and Bernardeschi, and Keith Pelly has put a letter out to the fans. And I have no idea. We're now then looking at the situation where CF Montreal is in. So I'm not going to be that fatalistic, but this is a huge opportunity, but a huge test for Georgie Mijailovic.
Whatever the move was, it had to work. That was the pressure they were feeling. It always works when I get you on the phone line when I'm in here in the studios, man. Appreciate you as always, Matthew. Enjoy the weekend, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Have a great weekend, boys.
The one and only Matthew Shinnitti. Both sides of football. That's it. Mr. Football.
Mr. Football.
That should be the tag. That should be on the resume.
You fan of the move here? You're Mr. Football 2.0 also.
The Georgie Mijailovic? Yeah, I mean, look, he's a player who can score in this league, create in this league, and they've gone out in the past and only bought players who have scored and performed elsewhere, and it hasn't always translated to here. So I do like that. I think that in the past when they have made moves to get solidified MLS guys, it's benefited them. It hasn't been at this expense, but everyone was going to judge whatever their next move was and however much money they spent. But I think it's a smart move. We'll see how it plays out. Yeah. And I'm very happy that we'll get to speak to Georgie Mijailovic in the 6 o'clock hour. Lots more to get to. We'll get in the Blue Jays. Steve Phillips will join us a little bit later. This is OverDrive on TSN.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
It is Mail It In Friday, brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. Enjoy $15 lunch at BP, where you get an entree, a side, and a drink, and you'll get it all in 20 minutes or less. A fast lunch doesn't have to be fast food. See you for a $15 fast lunch at your local Boston Pizza. This is Overdrive. My name is Brendan Dunlop. Happy to be alongside AB, Al's brother, who I know is very happy that the wait for the NFL season to return is over. Preseason is here. The weather is hot. The stories are hotter. Jerry Jones is always in the middle of something.
He's always hot. He's always hot. And Ryan Harris going to join us, former NFLer, get his take on what's going on over there. I'm curious from a player's perspective, too. Like, when your teammates are holding out, like, how disruptive is that from a player perspective?
Yeah.
Like, I know Josh Allen was speaking with reporters yesterday about James Cook holdout, and he's like, I want him back. Like, we need him back. He's a very integral role when it comes to our offense. Like, we want him back. Like, this is the start of training camp. Want to get off on a good foot. And I can't help but not look back to last year and how much of a mess it was in San Francisco. And you had Ayuk holding out for a contract. You had the McCaffrey injury situation. I think Trent Williams. There was a couple of things going on. Bosa was injured, and it was such an abysmal season right from the get-go. It just stunk in San Francisco from start to finish. You hope that these teams who have these hold-in players, you know, like Micah Parsons with Dallas, or like Buffalo and James Cook, or Terry McLaurin with the Commanders, who are coming off a massive season, hoping to parlay that into a good year. What is it like in the locker room when you got a situation like that? So I'll be curious, excited to ask Ryan Harris about that one.
Me too. I think it's so circumstantial, right? But it does have the capability, I think, to derail the season.
Yeah.
It depends on the person. Also depends on how that person is received in the room in general. Because most athletes will tell you, and I do believe this, that every guy in the room that feels like they're fighting together, they want everyone to get their money, get their bag, right? But if it comes at the expense of a team because you've dragged it out so long, or you've made it selfish, or you're a selfish guy in general, then I think that's where it can play a part. And also, too, when speaking soccer with Matthew Shinetti in the last block there, you look at the wage gap and the gap in pay that's happening in the NFL now increasingly. I think it's making it harder to keep the chemistry in the room. And I think you're more likely to see these hold-ins and these holdouts in preseason have an actual tangible impact when the season starts, because it's made the room a mess.
Well, yeah, like you got a guy like Terry McLaurin looking around and seeing wide receivers get paid $30 million a year, and he's like,
"Yeah,
I've been a very productive receiver. I should be paid that way." Micah Parsons, one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, looks around. Oh, you know, TJ Watt just got paid $41 million annually. Oh, Myles Garrett just got a big fat contract.
Yep.
Well, I'm every bit as good as those guys. I think I should be paid accordingly. So, yeah, that's kind of the situation. Everyone wants to reset the market, and that's the problem. And that market cap keeps increasing in the NFL.
Yeah.
It's going to continue to blow. Like that story the other day about ESPN acquiring like the NFL Network, and now the NFL has 10% cut in ESPN. Like that's going to help, you know, revenue and increase the salary cap in years to come, which is just going to mean more money for the big boys. Okay, now we can pay Micah Parsons $45 million a year to rush the passer. So it's going to be interesting. I also, if you look tonight too, like another thing I'm curious about that I'm intrigued by in preseason football, Shedeur Sanders makes his start tonight for the Cleveland Browns. And part of it's because there's injuries. Like Dylan Gabriel, the quarterback they took in the third round ahead of him, he's injured, so he's not playing. Kenny Pickett's got an injury. He's not playing. So he kind of is gifted this opportunity.
Good thing they got 5 guys.
Exactly. That's right. And I don't believe Joe Flacco is playing at all. So Shedeur Sanders kind of gifted this opportunity, but it is an opportunity. Like it is like, to me, Shedeur Sanders is still very much an NFL quarterback. Whether or not he is a star or should have been a first rounder, that remains to be seen. Only he can go out there and prove the doubters wrong. But this is an opportunity to do it. Now, it's preseason, and, you know, what does preseason really mean? I suppose not a whole lot sometimes. But this is a guy there's a lot of spotlight on. And if he can go out there and if he can have a good game, I think that goes a long way. But a bad game, it's like, okay, everyone was right. Everybody was right. This guy can't do anything. He goes out there and he goes, I don't know, like 12 for 25 with no touchdowns, 100 yards, and 2 picks, that'll be much louder for Shedeur. And a lot of the people who flex the muscle saying, see, told you, this is why he got passed on in 4 rounds.
Right.
Not the quarterback Mel Kiper said he was.
The standard and the measurement for him obviously is different than everybody else in comparable stats situations because of the name on the back of his jersey, how he carries himself.
I'm rooting for him, though. I'll be honest.
You want to see him succeed in
I
Cleveland?
want to see Shedeur Sanders succeed. I think he got a little bit of a bad rep with the, with everyone kind of looking at him. He's like, oh, he's the son. It's a lot of pessimism involved in,
nepotism.
Nepotism, not bad.
Was that what's with you with the jumping words? The words that mean
there's both. There's a lot of pessimism within his career, but also, there's the nepotism with his father.
I like the way you pull it back.
I want him to succeed. I believe, like a bold prediction for the NFL. I do think that Shedeur Sanders is going to start games this year for the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
I do think it's going to happen. Whether it's because the season gets off to an absolute abysmal start, which is possible, and they're just like, well, let's just see what we have in him. Or maybe he shows out in preseason, and then he rises up the depth chart and passes Dylan Gabriel, and then all of a sudden it's like, let's see what these 2 young kids have. And then he gets an opportunity.
Anybody that has played quarterback beyond their freshman year of high school that is involved in the Cleveland Browns organization has an opportunity to start an NFL game because that's just how it goes. This is OverDrive. Much more to come. We're going to take a quick break here on TSN Radio and TSN 4.
It's Mail It In Friday.
The plant called and said if you don't come in tomorrow, don't bother coming in Monday.
Woohoo! 4-day weekend.
This is Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
This is Overdrive on TSN 1050. Today on TSN 4 this hour. My name is Brendan Dunlop. Very happy to be in this seat with AB, Al's brother. So much to get to, my man, as we kick off hour 2. Overdrive brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. The final scores in Colorado for the Toronto Blue Jays were literally historic. I mean, I think no one is surprised to see sweep. No one is surprised to see the bats explode. No one may even be surprised to see that they hit 5 home runs twice.
Yeah.
In that
13 in the 3-game set.
But 63 runs, or 63 hits, excuse me, 45 runs across 3 games. We haven't seen that in 100 years.
Yeah.
I mean, the Rockies are bad, but damn, they made the Jays look good.
The Rockies are awful. Absolutely awful. But what I do hope, and, I touched on this earlier in the week, I do hope that they can just use this as momentum, because that's what happened when they went on their first run a couple months back, when they really started to get hot at the end of May there. They absolutely trounced the Oakland Athletics in a series, 3-4 games, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. Beat the living tar out of them. And then they parlayed into 2 months of quality baseball. That really has only had a week of a bad stretch.
Yes.
Like that, realistically, right before this series here that they had against the Rockies, okay, it was tough in Baltimore, and then it was tough in Kansas City. Outside those 2 series, though, since the end of May, they've been the best team in baseball by far.
Yes.
And again, it was just the confidence that they built with those bats, really picking up against the Athletics. They beat up on a bad pitching team, and they did it again in Colorado, and they used that confidence to propel them forward. I hope that that's the same case here. Now, tough matchup coming up. Really tough matchup. You got the Dodgers, then you got the Rangers, and then you got the Cubs.
Yeah.
3 of the top-ish teams in baseball.
Sure.
3 teams that are certainly going to the playoffs. This is a big stretch for them, with the Red Sox right on their heels at that.
I think the order works out nicely, though, because right now the Dodgers are having their struggles. They don't look their best. I think that they're going to play to their best later in the season, the Dodgers. But for the Blue Jays to come off of Colorado, to have a day, and then to sink into that. And even also, too, to start off against Kershaw. I mean, obviously, he can still bring it, but not the way that he used to.
No.
The bats are as hot as they are. I mean, you could be looking at a very short night tonight for Clayton Kershaw, which would be very beneficial for Schneider's Blue Jays.
Yeah, he's had a decent season. The soft stats look good. He's 5-2, 3.29 ERA. But I was looking into the underlying numbers. He's in the 29th percentile in expected batting average. He's got a 3.96 expected ERA. So he's been punching a little above his weight. But when you run into a lineup like the Blue Jays, who have made bad teams, who have punished bad teams, and when pitchers make bad pitches and they put it in the wrong spot, the Blue Jays have punished them, much like they did against the Rockies. Mm-hmm. Whether it was a starter, a reliever, a closer, a catcher who came in and served up 17 home runs in the 9th inning the other night. It was a difficult test for Kershaw, that's for sure. Both of these, that's the thing. We're talking about 2 premier pitchers, 2 of the best pitchers in my lifetime, in my baseball fandom, dating back to 2000. And they're going up against 2 of the top lineups in baseball also. So it's 2 great, grizzled veteran pitchers, and they have big-time tests, not just the opponent pitching on the mound, but who they're facing in the batter's box. Whether it's, Ohtani, into Freeman, into Mookie, Max Muncy's back now.
That lineup is
it's scary. But you can say the same thing about the Blue Jays.
Yes.
The way that the Jays lineup has been hitting, I was taking a look at the stats yesterday. Since the All-Star break, they have 15 players with a WRC plus over league average. That's pretty incredible to have. That just shows the depth of the lineup. So, and even if you do get through Vladdy, okay, well, now you got Alejandro Kirk.
Yeah.
Now you got Addison Barger. And then you got Dalton Varsho, who is now bringing power to the meat of the order. Like, it's difficult.
Barger's numbers matching Vladdy is not what I think anyone would have expected.
Oh.
And Vladdy's numbers aren't bad. Maybe not a $500 million guy, but like no one's complaining about his performance and his production.
He's been very consistent. He's been a consistent hitter. Right. I think that's the thing with Vladdy is everyone wants him to be this big power hitter. And he's got power, but he doesn't lift it, right? So you look at his numbers in terms of like exit velocity, his hard hit rates, like they're all up there. Like he's the 90th percentile in both of those categories. I think he has the best expected batting average in all of Major League Baseball. But the home run numbers aren't quite there. And I think that's why everyone looks at him and says, man, what could be, what should be. But ultimately, he's still been one of the best hitters in baseball. Like when you actually look at how productive he's been great. Now, $500 million, great? Maybe not.
Yeah. But you don't need him to be that now in July and August.
No, but
you need him to be that in September.
100%.
You need him to be that in October.
100%.
And you need him to carry that through in the next few years of his contract, which hasn't always been the case for guys who make that level of money.
He started to lift the ball when he was in Colorado. Now, again, is that Coors Field, right? Is that where the thin air? Is that because of Coors Field? Or because he's starting to heat up and be the Vladdy that he was paid to be? Because he's coming up back-to-back games with a double and a homer in each, right? So those extra base hits, that's what you need to see out of Vladdy.
You know what this season has afforded him, and maybe we'll get into this with Steve Phillips when we bring him on here in this hour, is I think the hit by committee and the production by committee has taken off some pressure that is naturally there for him given his name and his salary.
Oh, no kidding.
And also the pressure that he puts on himself. And then when you have a 3-game series like this where they unload, without the other two guys who have been at the top end of production in George Springer and Alejandro Kirk, I mean, it's got to feel relieving for someone who doesn't often get relief. Is my point in how.
Well, it's funny because like if the rest of the lineup wasn't hitting the way they are, there would have been way bigger spotlight on Vladdy, which is I think what you're alluding to. But instead, we look at the front half of the season and it's like, man, these Blue Jays are pitching pretty well. We haven't seen the best of Vladdy yet. Just wait till Vladdy starts going, right? And that was kind of the outlook. That's how the story was being spun about this Blue Jays, the lineup, the offense, where if no one else was hitting, it's holy smokes. This lineup can't hit. Vladdy's having the worst season. This Blue Jays team is awful. But because everyone else around him is doing well, it was more so, man, wait till Vladdy gets going, and then that lineup really is going to take off. And that's clearly what we saw happen in Colorado.
We'll keep the baseball conversation going and bring in Steve Phillips, our TSN baseball analyst. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Good to be with you.
Hey, great to talk to you again. I've got used to this. I've spoken to you every day this week, which has been very nice for me.
I love it. I mean, yes, that's right. I mean, so what are you doing the weekend? I mean, what time do you want to coordinate a call?
Actually, I'm going to see the Tigers. I'm taking my 2.5-year-old son to Comerica Park for the first time. It's going to be an emotional moment for me.
I love it.
Steve.
You'll love it there. It's a highly underrated ballpark, Comerica.
It is very highly underrated.
Before we look ahead to tonight, Steve, like the Jays, they're coming off this historic series against the Rockies, 63 hits, 45 runs, a plus 39 run differential. And I know that it's Colorado and they're a bad baseball team. I know it's Coors Field, but like, can they use that performance and carry that momentum through to this stretch against the Dodgers, Rangers, and Cubs?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's about confidence and feeling good about yourself. As a hitter, when you start feeling good, you're seeing the ball well, you're driving the ball, making hard contact, that does stay with you. And although the off day, can play a role in cooling you down, it can also sort of just be a thought of just reinforcing all those quality at bats and all of the traffic on the bases and how much fun they had is part of that too. And so, they go to take on the Dodgers, and they've got to be feeling really good about themselves and their swings and their ability to drive the baseball. So I do think there's some momentum there that they can carry with them. And I really feel like that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is starting to get his confidence now, because when he is confident, he can drive the baseball and lift the baseball. When he's in between, he still hits it hard, but the launch angle is a little bit different. And so I think that right now he's feeling as confident as he can to let the ball travel and then try to hunt the bottom of the baseball and lift it.
Consistency had been one of the big criticisms of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. over the last couple of years, and as people hummed and hawed about whether he was worth the money and what the Blue Jays should do to get that contract over the line, I got a feeling that seeing this hit by committee and the fact that they performed as well as they did in Colorado without Springer in the lineup, without Kirk in the lineup. Like, for someone like Vladdy, that's got to make you feel more confident that he's going to continue to build to his best, and his best baseball is still to come when you want it in September or October. Am I right?
Yeah, for sure. I do think that. I think that, I think that his confidence level has to be at a high for this season. And, he's been consistently good, just not consistently great. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, even his down years are good years for the mere mortals. But, you're paid at $500 million. You're thought to be, one of the top players in the game. And he hasn't always performed to that level. But it's never been below average, right? It's always been an above-average player. Now that Bichette's rolling, he's rolling, Nathan Lucas rolling, Barger still has it going on. They've got some real length and depth of the lineup right now that makes such a big difference.
Well, now you add Dalton Varsho back into the mix also, supplying the power in that meat of the lineup. Like, how great is it to see him back healthy, doing what he's doing at the plate and also in center field?
Yeah, it's really important, especially for left-handed hitters, right, to have some balance to the lineup where you can't easily navigate with a right-handed pitcher through the right-handed hitters, and then the lefties aren't quite producing. That it makes it easier for the opposing manager to manage. I think it's much more difficult now when you think about Lucas and Barger and Varsho in the left-handed bats, and then you pair them around Bichette and Guerrero. Then the managers on the other side have to really make a decision. Do I bring in a lefty? Do I bring in a righty? How do I manage this lineup? And so Varsho getting it going is great. And if they can ever get Santander back, and it doesn't have to be anything more than his, the average self, that would be, this would be a lineup that could be unstoppable.
You had some great players, veteran players on the Mets when you were there, Steve. And when you look at the two guys on the mound tonight in Clayton Kershaw and Max Scherzer, as AB had said, like, there's arguably not two better pitchers, in his lifetime, his baseball fandom. Like, they're right up there on the podium. How special is it, do you think, for fans to see this one more time? And just how do we process it? Because I think that's what I'm struggling with now. It's like, I might not see these guys go again. And yet, here I've got them in August, and it makes this ball game feel a little more meaningful, I think.
It does. Oh, it feels like a big game. There's no question. I think that, these guys have been great in the biggest moments and never have shied down from the competition. And they're both throwing the ball well right now. I mean, that's the other part of it, too, is that, Scherzer's actually looked pretty good his last two starts. The slider is working. And for Kershaw, coming off 6 shutout innings his last time out, he's been very good. And so I think that for both of them, they're throwing the ball well, and for them too, they're gonna elevate their game just to go against each other. They know they're facing the other lineup, but they also know they're facing each other, and I think it's a chance to make a statement for both of them.
Steve, prime Clayton Kershaw, prime Max Scherzer. If you had the lineup card heading into Game 1 of a World Series, who would you give the ball to?
Great question.
Yeah, Scherzer for sure. Kershaw's had some issues in the postseason, right? He's got like a 4.4 ERA in the postseason, which is almost 2 runs higher than his overall ERA. And so Scherzer's had some really big moments in the postseason. He's got a little more fastball. And I think there's more confidence for Scherzer in the playoffs than Kershaw. I love Kershaw, and I think you can look at regular season performance and maybe give him the edge. But when it comes to the overall in the postseason, I give Scherzer the edge.
We're talking all things Blue Jays with Steve Phillips on the Maple Toyota Hotline right now. When you look at Bo Bichette and how he's performed and played this season, are you surprised at all at the level that he's hit? And does he have another level in him, as I was hinting to, that we're all expecting to see from Vladdy?
I think that for Bichette, if he's healthy, then, we knew he was going to be good. I mean, he's been a guy that has led the league in hits before. He's really good at letting the ball travel deep in the zone. He can drive it down the right field line. He can pull it down the left field line and hit to all fields. And the power numbers, I think there's more power in there than what we've gotten. He's always been a really good doubles hitter. But I do think that if he tried and sold out on a pitch during every at-bat, he could be a 30-home run bat. But you know what? He's coming back from injury. He focused on hitting for average, making contact, driving the ball. Now you're starting to get some of the power production in it. So I don't know that I would change or want him to change anything. I think that the way he's going about it right now is perfect for what this team needs, and he's killing it with runners in scoring position. I mean, he's absolutely, like a close to 400 batting average with runners in scoring position, and that's why moving him down to the lineup had so much value for John Schneider.
Steve, it's a pretty kind of murderer's row coming up here. You got the Dodgers, you got the Rangers, you got the Cubs. 3 teams who can put up some big numbers offensively, that's for sure. How important is this stretch going to be for the Jays' kind of rotation to tighten things up, especially with the Red Sox on their heels?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly is important. I think that whether it's this series or any other, sometimes not who you play, it's when you play them. So, the schedule means something, but, the Dodgers are playing, okay baseball. Their bullpen's vulnerable right now. It's not the worst time to play them. The Rangers have started to heat up a little bit. The Cubs have been up and down. They're running into Kershaw, Snell, and Yamamoto in this series, and they're going to probably get Imanaga against the Cubs. And they've got a chance to get both DeGrom and Eovaldi in the series with the Rangers. And so, but I think I look at it as, and I wrote about it in .ca, that I would look at this as, let's make this a playoff challenge. Let's play playoff baseball for the next 10 days. Let's go out there, score early. Let's make plays defensively. Let's be aggressive. Let's do all those things that you have to do one pitch at a time in the postseason and turn it into that, because it's good practice for it, because these are playoff caliber teams that I think if they can play well in these series. Look, the reality is they go 5-4, 4-5 in the next 9 games. They're still going to be in first place. The Red Sox have some tough series going on right now, too. Their schedule's not – they have Houston, and I know they've got the Marlins on the back end of it as well, but, and the Padres. So they've got – they have their own sort of tough gauntlet to run through over the next 9 days. And so but I think for the Jays, just go out there and play their game, and they're going to be just fine.
If you were a bookmaker, Steve, Steve FanDuel Phillips, what are the odds that we see the Blue Jays and the Dodgers again this season in the World Series?
I think there's a real chance of it. I mean, I think that the National League, I think it's the Dodgers, the Padres, the Phillies, and the Mets are really, I think, the teams to challenge. I like Milwaukee. I just don't think that they're going to stand toe-to-toe with those other teams or the Cubs. In the American League, it is a bit more wide open, but I'm feeling so much more bullish about the Blue Jays right now than certainly the Yankees. I'm not a big believer that Detroit is going to do their thing, or Houston for that matter. Houston's got 2 starting pitchers, but after that, some questions. Mm-hmm. They're going to get Christian Javier back. They're going to get Luis Garcia back, and Eric Getty just came back. So they're hoping that they're going to piece together their rotation with guys coming back from injury, which is always a dicey thing to do. And I think once Bieber gets locked in and we can see what he looks like, if he's a postseason answer, then I really like the Blue Jays' chances.
Steve, we saw yesterday that Alek Manoah got called up to Double-A, made his first Double-A start of the season, went 3 innings, gave up 5 hits, couple walks, couple strikeouts. Does this mean anything for this season? Like, does it maybe suggest that they want to try and get him up here, not as a starter, but maybe as a bullpen piece, or is that still a 2026 kind of play for Manoah?
Yeah, I think it's 2026. I really do. I mean, I guess he could always be insurance if there's some catastrophic injuries for this year. But I don't think as a reliever, the idea of a guy coming back from Tommy John, who's not really been a reliever, to go in the bullpen, warm up, sit down, warm up, come in the game, pitch back-to-back days and try to recover that way. It just doesn't feel like it would be the right thing for him. So I think that, he'll be, the 7th or 8th option in the rotation, I guess, if something happens. But I feel like they're well protected over the last month and a half of the season, that this is really just about getting Manoah ready for 2026.
Do Blue Jays fans need to be more worried of the Red Sox or the Yankees? I mean, obviously the Yankees are a ways behind and they have their own issues right now. But I look at the Red Sox and this weekend in San Diego, and it might not go very well for them.
Oh, I'm much more concerned about the Red Sox than the Yankees right now. The Yankees, they're competing against other teams, but they're also competing against themselves right now. And that's really, the media and the fans are all down on them. And so, they've got a huge momentum turnaround they're going to need. And look, there's time to do it for sure. And, if you're going to struggle, this would have been the time. And then you start putting it together for the last month and a half. But I do think that the Yankees' problems, they might still make the playoffs, but I don't think they can make up 6.5 games and pass the Red Sox. So I think it's going to be, the Yankees fighting for that last wild card spot.
Steve, Summer Radio is a great time for story time. I love story time with Steve Phillips, a longtime esteemed general manager, lifer of baseball. And obviously we're all getting excited for the Scherzer and Kershaw matchup tonight. But Is there a matchup that you witnessed live that blew you away, that you had this much anticipation for in your years working the game?
I mean, a little bit there, but I think about a matchup that I saw. And, I think you go back in the days for me, like I start back in with the World Series back in '68 when it was Bob Gibson and the Detroit Tigers and Denny McLain and Mickey Lolich and the pitchers back then. And, I think that, for me, it was Al Leiter on the mound. His matching up against Roger Clemens in interleague play and what those were like for us as well. But, I think that Randy Johnson being on the mound against Greg Maddux, those matchups were always fantastic. And so I think that whenever you get a chance to see, the best of the best go at it. And, and as a kid, whenever we were going to go to a game, the first question we'd ask is, who's starting? Because I always wanted to know who the pitchers were. And I'll never forget a game growing up. Mark Fidrich, the Bird, was pitching in Detroit, and what a character he was, right? He'd pat the dirt on the mound. He'd talk to the baseball, taking on Dennis Leonard from the Kansas City Royals, who's one of the best pitchers of that era, in a 1-0 game at Tiger Stadium that was just, Fidrich throws a complete game and wins 1-0, and 50,000 people at Tiger Stadium celebrating this sort of goofy, lanky guy with floppy hair and looking like Big Bird on the mound, and just never forget memories like that when you see those great pitching matchups.
Oh, there was some fantastic ones. I really do think that at this point in the season, the Blue Jays having worked their rotation in the way that they have and where things have fallen. If this is Game 1 of the ALDS, you're looking to have a long October. Who do you hope is the one whose the ball falls in their hand for Game 1 to open up the playoffs for the Blue Jays?
Yeah, good question. I think the Jays are sort of complicated in that way. I would think Gausman gets the Game 1 start. I wrote today too that I thought that if we go 4 deep in a series of starters, that I would likely have Scherzer and Bieber starting, and I would have Barrios and Lauer in the bullpen. That I think they've got the more resilient arms and more flexibility to be able to handle that role than I think any of the others. And so I would probably go with Gausman, Bieber, Scherzer, and Bassett in the rotation would be the way I'd line it up for the Jays.
Steve, it was a pleasure. I'm looking forward to seeing Kershaw and Scherzer tonight, and I always enjoy speaking with you. So enjoy your weekend, my man, and maybe one day we'll get the chance to catch a game. I don't know if it'll be El Comerica.
All right, terrific, guys.
But maybe one day.
Love that.
All right.
Thanks so much.
The one and only Steve Phillips joining us in the Maple Toyota Hotline. Drive the built-in-Canada, fuel-efficient, fun-to-drive Toyota RAV4. Gas or hybrid models available. Visit mapletoyota.com.
You want to hear a fun little piece of trivia?
I always like trivia, my man. What you got for me?
Clayton Kershaw and Max Scherzer.
Okay.
The first time that they faced each other was as rookies back in 2008.
I thought that was going to be the question. What year was that? Okay. I would have guessed earlier, to be honest. Yeah.
Who was supposed to start that night?
Oh, I know.
Did you see this?
Special. Yeah, I did see that. That wasn't supposed to be.
So Kershaw and Scherzer was not supposed to be the starting pitchers in that matchup. It turned out to be Scherzer and Kershaw, which, 20 years down the road, it ended up being quite the matchup. But the expected starters was Randy Johnson
and Greg Maddux. This is the board I was talking about, and I didn't realize that was it, and Vin Scully was setting it up.
Yes.
Couldn't get any more different.
Yeah. So could you imagine, though, being back in 2008, driving into the ballpark, and you're excited? This is pre-Twitter, pre-cell phones, pre all that, right? Or smartphones at the very least. You don't know who's you're just assuming. Okay, I'm going in. I got tickets. Going to see Randy Johnson, Greg Maddux. It's going to be a hell of a pitching duel. And you show up. It's actually, you got 2 rookies on the mound. This Clayton Kershaw fella, this Max Scherzer kid. Have fun. I would be so upset if I showed up. But then 20 years later, to have that story, if you had that ticket stub, be like, man, it was supposed to be Johnson, Maddux, 2 Hall of Famers. It turned out to be Kershaw and Scherzer, also 2 Hall of Famers.
Yeah, a 24-year-old Max Scherzer and a 20-year-old Clayton Kershaw, if I got that right, instead of a 45-year-old Randy Johnson, 42-year-old Greg Maddux. That's amazing. Also reminds me that I was doing score updates on the satellite radio at the time. So 5 minutes, top and bottom of every hour. And we were gambling focused. So it was, hope you took the overs tonight. It was 15 of them in the NHL or whatever it was. And man, I did a lot of those previews, and I wonder if I had happen to have that game.
Yeah,
did a lot of those.
Oh, supposed to be a good pitching matchup between Randy Johnson and Greg Maddux. Nope, got a couple of kids out there. Again, hope you took the overs.
Yeah, that's a great baseball voice, though. You should that should
like
be a
the
character.
Old school, like 50s baseball voice.
We need more of those. Hank Azaria had a show that was a parody of an old school style baseball. What was the name of that show? Do you remember?
No,
it was super vulgar. It was. We'll find it in the break. It was definitely Hank Azaria, and it's not that old, pre-pandemic, but we're probably talking between 2015 and 2018, I think. You'll probably recognize it the second
I hear it.
But I think that maybe you've created a niche for yourself. There should be you should have a character podcast.
1950s Brooklyn Dodgers.
Yeah, well, whatever. You can make it in a Niagara accent. Just it's a hybrid, but there's an old thing to it. My grandfather used to speak like that. He never lived in New York, but he sounded like he was.
That's like what are
you doing there with a bag of milk?
Well,
why
that's
do you talk
what the radio guys sounded like that back in the day. Like you ever listen to anyone who used to do play-by-play? That's what it sounded like. Yeah. Always.
Hopefully, you're still listening to us do sports talk radio in the middle of the summer. Lots more to come. We're basically just getting started here on OverDrive on TSN and TSN4.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Back on Overdrive. Today you're kicking it with me, Brendan Dunlop, and AB, Al's brother. Halfway through, my man, on a Friday. We're halfway to the official start of our weekend's beginning.
Yeah, can't wait. Honestly, can't wait. But I got a fun weekend booked though with the boys, so it should be a fun weekend.
But you will have time to consume late night Kershaw and Scherzer.
There will be plenty of bets placed throughout the weekend. I mean, it's a degenerate boys trip. We will certainly be having the game on, and we'll be having our bets on FanDuel placed. And we'll be kicking back a couple of soda pops.
Imagine a time back to their rookie season when you would have to listen to satellite radio at the top and bottom of every hour just to get the scores and get those lines because you couldn't pull it up on your phone. And unless you were sitting at a desktop computer that had access to a live score, which is what I used to read from.
Yeah.
This is back in the day where there was a risk that the internet wouldn't work. Or that site would crash.
That's still very
or
much a
that
risk.
that game update was not valid.
Was not there.
And I think that is a risk, particularly if you're into the dodgy soccer as I am, that sometimes you don't know if that Google update is correct. Like, what minute is it in? How are they in 22 minutes of injury time? That's got to be impossible.
Oh, nothing
it usually
annoys
is.
me. Nothing annoys me. Even like preseason stats too, where you go to a website trying to find the stats or whatever, and you just can't find it. Like last night, trying to see, okay, how did Anthony Richardson do? And just the stats aren't updated yet because they just don't care about preseason quite yet.
Yeah.
Like, he did poorly, by the way.
He
Very
did.
poorly.
Well, you use the word, the DG word that I don't really like to say there.
Yeah.
If you are betting on preseason, I think the word is appropriate.
Yeah.
I mean, that feels it to me. That feels it to me.
Yeah. I faded my Colts last night. We'll leave it at that.
How do you feel like playing a game right now?
I love it.
Let's play future headlines, okay? This is what's more likely to happen.
Okay.
We'll start with some hockey. The Florida Panthers three-peat as Stanley Cup champions, or the Philadelphia Eagles repeat as Super Bowl champions.
Ooh.
Let you bat lead off.
That's a good one. That's a really, really solid one, I'd say.
I think it's difficult for both of them, which is part of what makes answering this harder.
Yeah, like I think it is, but maybe the Panthers three-peat.
You think so?
I think the Panthers three-peat might be a little more likely.
Winning the cup takes a lot out of you. They've just done it twice against two of the best players in the game.
But they brought back the whole gang. The whole gang. Now, you can say the same thing in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Pretty much a very similar lineup that won the Super Bowl a year ago, I suppose.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I get it. The playoffs is far more grueling, and it's a much tougher test. It's the hardest playoff, in my opinion. Toughest postseason, hardest championship to win. But I can't think of a team that's better than Florida. I can think of some teams that might be able to beat and contend with the Eagles. Like, I think that the Bills, if they get there, can beat the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
I think Baltimore can beat the Eagles. Like, I don't think they're unbeatable. I think, if Green Bay can get it together, they get into the playoffs. I think you look on the NFC, Detroit, what does Detroit have in store? Right? Like, I think Detroit, with Aiden Hutchinson healthy again, what can they do? Now, they did lose their coordinator, so it's going to be a bit of an adjustment. But you hope by playoff time, they've got it cooking again. And Dan Campbell's got that team playing. So I see the Florida Panthers as the standard right now in the NHL and the team to beat. I just think that there's less competition for them, whereas the Eagles, a little more competition. It's a little more of an even playing field around the league.
It is more competition, and I mean, the reality is if you get the Bills, it's because they're better and they bested the Chiefs. And if you get the Chiefs again, well, then they've proven that they're unstoppable.
Yeah,
and it would be
much
difficult, I think, for the Eagles to repeat that. But I genuinely think, man, that we're due for another final in the Stanley Cup final. We cannot get the Panthers and the Oilers again. I think the Oilers have a chance of getting back.
Really?
And I think the Panthers are good enough to do it.
So who's more likely then, Panthers or Oilers?
I think the Oilers. I think the Oilers are more likely to get back, yeah. But I don't think it's going to be easy for them either. But
No.
I generally think they're more likely to get back because I think that they are, not that they're more motivated, certainly, but like there is a desperation that is going to push McDavid a little more this season. And this is either that season where he has some devastating injury.
They got to get a goalie, though.
Or he wins the cup.
Until they get a goalie, I don't know if I can like
Back
make
that?
that statement. I don't know.
Yeah.
Now, I guess Stu Skinner has taken them to 2 straight cup finals, so
Yeah.
it's a little unfair of me to say, but it's just tough to
goaltending
not take Florida.
Yeah, I feel like. Well, would you rather have a big name goaltender that you would put in the category of goaltenders when we grew up? Because I think that's what we compare to.
Yeah.
Or would you have
Brodeurs,
a generation? Yeah, exactly. Cujo, or a generational talent like Connor McDavid that you hope you can outscore everybody, because that's really the reality that he's playing in. And you look at when the Golden Knights won the Stanley Cup with the backup goalie who ended up becoming a star, right? Jordan Binnington is now like the number one for Canada. Nobody would have predicted that even when he lifted the cup a few years ago. I love how we've hijacked Would You Rather.
It's a real. We're talking about the same thing here. It is a real good question though, because like Connor McDavid, he could score. He could take over a game and score 3 goals, have a 5-point night. But if his goalie lets in 7, what does that do? But if you, as the goaltender, the way that Bobrovsky has done over the last 3 years, stealing games night after night, winning games 2-1, 3-2. There's more blowouts this year, but last year, those are close games, right? 2 years ago when they beat Toronto the first time, those were close games. Like those were 2-1, 3-1, 3-2 hockey games. And that was the goalie standing on his head, besting some of the best players. Like Matthews was the best player in the world that year. That year, I'm not saying he's better than McDavid, but that year when he won the Art Ross, won the Ted Lindsay, won the Rocket, won the Hart, he was the best player on the planet that year. And they shut him down in the playoffs. He didn't score a single goal. The goalie did that. So I think a goaltender might be a little bit more important come playoff time because it's so tight. Than the superstar forward.
Still the deciding factor. And I mean, look, there have been some superstar goaltenders. I don't mean to take anything away from Bobrovsky and Andrei Vasilevsky, who's had been amazing, of course. But there is that cachet of goaltender that we were used to when we were kids. It's not the same. There's
far less of them now.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah, not even kids. I mean, drinking adults listening to sports updates on the radio because you can get your scores.
I mean, prior to sports science, where guys just regularly played 60 games. That was what they did. You didn't even have to be a star to play 60, 70 games in the NHL as a goalie. You just had to be healthy, and they would trot you out there for someone I know, not to disrespect my boy. I think he's a great goaltender. But Marty Biron's told the story many times. Dominic Hasek left Buffalo, and Biron started 72 games the next year. Went from playing, 20 or so games, 18, 20, to 72 games.
Unbelievable.
Crazy.
Yeah.
You will never see that ever again.
You will never see that.
No.
We're surprised when a guy's at the 50 mark. You're like, wow, look at that. I guess the management didn't do enough around him.
Yeah.
Easton Cowan cracks the Leafs playoff roster, or Bo Bichette signs a long-term extension with the Blue Jays. What's more likely?
Probably Cowan in the playoff roster.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
He's due. He's going to earn it.
I just think it's more likely Cowan. I think it's very probable that Cowan factors in come playoff time. It may take a little bit for him to get there. I don't know if he cracks the opening night lineup, but if he can tear it up in the American League, I think it's possible that by next spring, he could be ready for the NHL. Right? Give him that seasoning in the American League, get him used to the pro game, and then by April, similar to Matthew Nyes, he didn't do it in the American League, but he did in college, relatively similar ages, and then he came in and helped and played pretty well in the postseason at that point for the Maple Leafs. So I'm going to go with Cowan. And it's not that I don't think Bo Bichette will sign an extension here. It's just I think the Blue Jays will pay up for Bo.
Yes.
It's whether or not Bo wants to stick around and what do the other teams do. The Dodgers, the Yankees, there's just all these, the Rangers are always spending money.
Yeah.
There's just so many teams out there that could throw a bunch of cash at him and lure him away.
You think that Bo Bichette is more interested in seeing what the open market has to offer than Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was?
I do, and I do expect him to hit the open market. That's not to say he doesn't come back. I still think there's a chance that he would come back, but he's going to test the market. And, we kind of saw it. I guess Marner didn't get to market, but once he found out what else is out there, decided to go in another direction.
I do think that the Maple Leafs had always communicated, and I believe that they were always interested in retaining him.
For sure.
And even when the public and anyone listening to this station felt like Marner is the big change you have to make. I think that within those offices,
they
wanted him, and they weren't certain that was true. And maybe they wanted to tinker with the numbers, but they were still giving pretty good numbers. Like they weren't looking to force the guy to make an emotional decision and take a haircut. They knew
didn't
exactly
squeeze him the way that
the fans would.
Well, the way that like Tavares took a pretty big discount.
Sure,
they weren't asking Marner to do the same thing.
No, and I don't think they believe that I don't think they believe that would be fair to do that either. No. With Bo Bichette, I think he signs an extension. I don't think he hits the open market because I think the Blue Jays win the division, even if they lose in the ALDS. Like if they get embarrassed and pasted, it's a different story. But I don't believe that will happen. But as long as they secure the division, the way that ownership group is spending on sports in general and wanting to own sports and loving the moment, I just feel like they're going to get swept in that moment to match whatever that check is from the Padres or the Rangers, or if the Astros wanted to get fancy and write a big check, or whoever would appeal to Bo Bichette potentially, this ownership group is going to pay up because if they see a winning product, and there will be butts and seats for the rest of this season at Rogers Center, I can see Bo Bichette getting the money that he wants and them giving the deal that they feel in the moment is the right deal.
All right.
I mean, it'll turn out to be that way, but I think Bo Bichette signs an extension with the Blue Jays.
All right. Optimism.
All right. To the NFL. Future headlines. What's more likely? Shedeur Sanders is the answer to the Cleveland Browns quarterback woes, or Shedeur Sanders is added to the long list of Browns quarterbacks that couldn't hack it?
Well, it's almost like I'm going back on what I said earlier, right? Like I want Shedeur to succeed, and I think that he'll be given an opportunity to succeed.
But it's still Cleveland.
Do I think it's more likely that he becomes the franchise quarterback there as opposed to not? No, I don't. I think it's more likely that he gets added to that fan that has the jersey of like 40 different quarterback names, all crossed out over the course of the last like 30 years.
I can't remember what number that is, the most used number. It's not Brandon Whedon's 3. There's a couple 3s. Colt McCoy was like
could be
12.
12. He was 12.
I forget who Tim Couch was. That was my first Browns jersey.
Tim Couch,
yeah.
Was he not 2?
He was number 2, yes.
Yeah.
He was number 2. Tim Couch was my first Browns jersey. It was a starter jersey. Yeah.
Number 2 on the Browns, huh?
Yeah.
Right.
Number 1 in our hearts, though. And number 1 off the board, Tim Couch.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see. I'd love, like, a few years down the line to see what happens with Shedeur.
Yeah.
You know, I think he gets an opportunity, whether or not he's able to prove that he's a franchise quarterback. The answer in Cleveland, that's asking a lot out of a guy who ultimately fell to the 5th round. Whether or not he should have been a 5th round pick, 4th, 3rd, he was never looked upon as a franchise guy, or a team would have drafted him far sooner than 5.
Of course.
Like, that's an organization that's made some very questionable decisions to try and get victories. If they felt that Shedeur could help them win, they probably would have invested a far earlier pick in Shedeur.
For the first time since Adrian Peterson in 2012, we have a non-QB MVP, or for the first time since 2015, the AFC West has a new champion. What's more likely?
I've kind of been talking about the AFC West getting a new champion for like the last couple of days. Like whether it's the Chargers, I know a lot of people are high on the Broncos. Like that could be a possibility. Because look, as much as we love to talk about there being, position players involved in winning the MVP, it always just goes to a quarterback. Like it's a quarterback league. It's basically a quarterback award at this point. Like if Saquon Barkley, what he did last year, didn't earn him MVP consideration, like what are we doing?
If he does it again, though, do you not think he gets it?
Well, it depends. What do the quarterbacks do? Like the quarterbacks have to have a big step back and not put up insane numbers in order. Like he would have to do something pretty wild.
I think if you get the same comparable production from all of those quarterbacks in the mix. Now, I think that Josh Allen's going to have an even better season, personally. And I do think that you're either going to get another historic, incredible season in Kansas City, or you're going to get a real disappointing season in KC, and which would have I think a big influence on that as well.
Like non-playoff disappointing?
No. But as in like first round fumble. Like as in
I could see
it's
that.
possible they limp into the playoffs and they just don't have it in the tank.
I can see it.
It's also to my point about the Florida Panthers and longevity. Like I think that there's a lot of wear and tear, and I know that they've bolstered on both sides of the ball a little bit with some new pieces. But I think that the Chiefs are beaten down and worn down, and you just don't see a dynasty run like that. And everyone else is getting better. And I think that Saquon Barkley has the chance to at least match what he did last year.
Even 2,000 yards back-to-back years.
You do it twice, then you have to do it. You have to get it. Yeah, I think he.
But you think he gets there?
I think he's going to flirt with it. I certainly wouldn't bet if you give me odds at.
Let me see if he's got an over.
Yeah, what are the odds?
Let me see if he's got an over/under total. I wouldn't be surprised.
Saquon Barkley to run 2,000 yards.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a total up on FanDuel. They usually have stuff like that, but that's asking a lot from a guy like that. 2,000 yards, Saquon Barkley plus 850 to go over 2,000 yards.
I honestly, I thought it would be a lot less. You know what? I honestly thought it would be like plus 350. I think plus 850 on FanDuel is a good bet.
Is that good value?
I think that's great. That's great
sprinkle?
value. I think that's highly worth a sprinkle. Yes.
When's the last that was like the second time in like 20 years we've had a running back go over 2,000.
It's yeah. I can't remember what the last year was when it was done, but it
was AP back in.
It was AP in 2012.
He won the MVP.
2000 to win the MVP.
Yeah.
And I think that if Saquon hits 2,000 again, you have to give him the MVP. If everyone else around him.
Was CJ afterward? CJ 2K could have been after that one.
I thought that there was the one in between.
I think it was. Either way, it doesn't happen that often. I don't know. 2,000's a high number to put on Saquon.
Well, we'll carry the conversation over on the other side of the break. This is OverDrive on Mail It In Friday on TSN and TSN4.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
No Hayes, no Noodles, no O-Dog. It is Mail It In Friday, brought to you by Boston Pizza, Canada's favorite sports bar. Enjoy a $15 lunch at BP, where you get an entree, a side, and a drink. You'll get it all in 20 minutes or less. A fast lunch doesn't have to be fast food. See it for a $15 fast lunch at your local Boston Pizza. You got Dunlop, you got Al's brother, and we've got some Christmas Day plans already, my man.
Yeah.
We know what our weekends are all about. We're excited for this weekend. Now get excited for Christmas, because you know what NBA games are on, and you know what NFL games are challenging them. And I love how bold the NFL is. It's just like, you know what? We own a day of the week. We want to own the biggest day of the year.
Yeah.
You don't have exclusivity NBA. It's a new world.
Well, they're trying to, but I'm looking at the schedules. So the NFL schedule has been out for a little bit. Obviously, the season starts beforehand, so we've known it. You got Lions, Vikings, Cowboys, Commanders, and then Broncos, Chiefs at night. So there's your Christmas Day slate for football. The NBA just dropped their schedule. And the Christmas Day slate, Cavs, Knicks, Spurs, and Thunder, which would be a very intriguing matchup.
Wemby versus Shai.
Yeah. Rockets and Lakers, Mavs and Warriors, and then T-Wolves and Nuggets as your nightcap there. They kind of hit it out of the park. Like I'm more intrigued by these NBA matchups than I am by the NFL. The Lions-Vikings one, that one will catch my attention in the NFL. But, like, I'm not expecting the Cowboys to be a very good football team. Sure,
right.
Jaden Daniels is awesome. Like, it'll be cool to watch Jaden do his thing. I don't know. I don't know if I'm crazy, but, like, I'm getting bored of Mahomes. I'm getting bored. Like,
You're
just,
not
like,
crazy.
The Broncos, Chiefs, and I think the Broncos are going to have a decent year. Don't get me wrong. But, like, that matchup just doesn't do it for me anymore. I don't know why. Like, you would think Mahomes in prime time, it should be a gift to football fans. I don't want to see it.
You're not alone, I think, in feeling bored of the Mahomes show in KC.
The games haven't been compelling. Like, if you actually go and watch the Chiefs, dude, their offense has not been good. Yeah. 2 years now, this offense has not operated at a high level. Mm-hmm. And they're efficient. Mm-hmm. They're winning football games, clearly. They're making it to the Super Bowl every year. But it's not that entertaining. And it's kind of annoying to watch.
It is. Particularly last season, right? Because I think every winning team, and, you know, when they were good and when they were thrilling, you could say this about them as well. They're fortunate to steal a game. Or, like, they didn't really deserve that, but, hey, they won it in the end. And if you outscore the other team, that's all that matters.
So, JP,
but how many times did we say that last year?
All the time. All the time.
9 weeks of it.
JP just comes in over the top and says, Bills and Eagles are the same week. I am far more intrigued by a Bills-Eagles game than I am here with Broncos-Chiefs. I don't know if that's because, you know, like we're the Bills are considered a local team here.
Right.
But, like, that's a potential Super Bowl preview. Broncos-Chiefs is not. Like, it's a divisional matchup, but it's not. The NBA one definitely has my attention far more. I'm kind of, the NFL, I forgot what it was, but
the Chiefs will always have more national appeal than the Buffalo Bills, as unfair as that may actually be. That's just the reality, my man.
Maybe.
This is Overdrive on TSN 1050. Don't go anywhere. 1 hour still to come.
It's Mail It In Friday.
Yeah, hi, it's Bill Lumberg again. Yeah, it isn't a half day or anything like that.
This is Overdrive.
It's not that I'm lazy. It's that I just don't care.
With Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
It's Friday, that it is. The final hour of Overdrive. My name is Brendan Dunlop. Happy to be in the seat today with AB, Al's brother. Happy to have been in the TSN studios this week because it has been a very entertaining week with the Blue Jays running the show as they did in Denver, historically destroying the Colorado Rockies.
Crushing the Colorado Rockies.
And now a game very much worth staying up for or having other plans that don't involve not being available to catch the Blue Jays tonight with Clayton Kershaw against Max Scherzer, maybe the last time in their careers. And then I think we all enjoyed, as Canadians, watching what Vicky Mboko did at the National Bank Open and in beating Naomi Osaka in the fashion in which she did, with the dominant display that we saw there in the third set particularly. But from an 18-year-old who had started this year outside the 300
333.
And now we'll go to the U.S. Open as a seeded player.
Yeah.
I can't get enough of the Vicky Mboko story. It was really special.
It really was. And I hope that she can continue this success, right? Much like we're saying with the Blue Jays. Let's hope they can take that series against the Rockies, use that momentum, and move forward to face stiffer competition in the Dodgers. She's going to play some very stiff competition at the U.S. Open. Like, we're talking about a Grand Slam here. One of the biggest tournaments of the year on the calendar. So there's going to be the top of the top. But she proved this week that she can hack it with those players. Like, she's the youngest player in tennis history to down 4 Grand Slam champions en route to a championship.
It's unreal. This is a big tournament. This is a A-level tournament, albeit, of course, not a Grand Slam. And to do this against the slate that she did, Coco Gauff being number 1, Rebecca, just the serve alone, just the way that she fought back against those serves against Rebecca in the semis. And then to beat Naomi Osaka, she won this, it took 3 sets. She won this in the second set. Osaka knew this was over. Well,
the thing I do find interesting is like the age difference, I guess.
Between the two of them?
Yeah, the two of them. And more so the fact that once, and it goes to your point, I think once Osaka realized that this thing was going to a third set, like maybe the match is getting a little long for her.
Right.
As opposed to Mboko, who's very young, very spry, and had like a 3-hour head start on rest because she had played the match before, the night before. Osaka had the nighttime match, right? So she had a little bit more rest and just a little younger, a little bit, less mileage on the body. I think the longer that Mboko took that match, the higher the odds of her winning was. And the second she was able to kind of take that second set deep, 6-4, make that a deep match, the third set was kind of all Mboko. Like, she took over in that match.
There were a lot of nervous people in the stands on Wednesday watching Mboko and Rebecca go.
It was kind of a very similar win.
Yeah.
Like, because Rebecca took control in the opening set. And Mboko went on, won the second, won the third. The exact same thing last night.
Just prevailed. Just completely outlasted the opposition. But what I was going to say was the person that didn't in that building that did not enjoy watching that match against Rebecca in the semifinal on Wednesday night was Naomi Osaka for sure, knowing that this start for her is going to be even later. She wasn't about to let that semifinal go to 3 sets.
No.
Because she couldn't afford it. But I did think that would potentially be an advantage.
And it did
Mboko.
turn out to be.
And then she comes out and loses the opening set 6-2 to Naomi Osaka. I thought, maybe I'd overestimated that. But to see the way that she prevailed, and then the class too, and let's be honest. I mean, there is, I think, some empathy that all of us can find for Naomi Osaka to, in that moment, having lost, to have, as she explained today, have forgotten to mention.
Slipped her mind.
It slipped her mind to mention a young Vicky Mboko. There can be some empathy towards the situation where you were very much in your own head and your own thoughts. You didn't see it. But then to see Vicky Mboko at 18 get up there and immediately acknowledge Naomi Osaka, as in, like, I really, I'll never forget that I got to play you today. Like, thank you for being a part of my journey here. And just seem like the wise, mature veteran player. That made her story all the more special, and that moment of that night stand out even more, I think.
Yeah. She's now the top-ranked Canadian tennis player, and clearly the face of tennis right now. To be doing that at 18 is unbelievable. So I can't wait to see what she's got in store for us at the U.S. Open.
How excited are you for this NFL season, my man? On a scale of 1 to 10.
12. Good 12. Good 12.
It can't come fast enough for you.
No. I mean, I am the football junkie that was watching that Raiders-Seahawks game go to overtime last night. Fourth quarter, fourth stringers, and I can't take my eyes off it. Yeah. That's how much of a junkie I am for football. That's NFL football specifically.
That's a good description. Well, why don't we bring a Super Bowl champion into the discussion then? Ryan Harris joins us, the Westwood One NFL analyst, joins us here on Overdrive. Ryan, how are you, man? Nice to speak to you.
Brendan, Michael, great to be with you again.
Are you also someone that gets as dialed into the preseason as my man Al's brother over here? I know you're watching games very differently than he is, I'm sure. He's looking for props and overs and totals and numbers, and you're looking for a different set of numbers, I would assume.
Well, I'm looking for players to make their dreams come true. I mean, the preseason is so important, and it's not just important to the players who may or may not make a roster, but it's important to the veterans who know what it takes to play in the NFL. It's important for coaches to get used to calling plays and understanding their personnel. So I love the preseason. I'm not sure who was talking before you brought me on, but I'm right there with him. I was watching it last night. I think it was like 35-3 or something, but couldn't be more glued to it. And what you're looking for is somebody who's going to make a mistake but then make a play. That's the professional you can win with.
Well, you talk about guys who are looking to make an impact, and I was watching the Colts and Ravens game, and I think it was LeJohntay Wester made an impact in that game for the Baltimore Ravens. And I'm curious, Ryan, what's it like being a veteran and watching some of these younger players who are long shots, I guess, to make the NFL or make the roster, kind of have a moment like that in a preseason game?
Well, and that's the thing. Is it a moment or a career? And you're happy for guys, right? Whether it's a preseason or not. And let's be clear. Everybody listening here, if you played in the preseason in the NFL, it'd be real to you and it'd be all over your Instagram, right? So let's not act like we don't understand what we all would be doing. But, what you do know as a veteran is that as a rookie, there's thousands of rookies who are going to touch the field in the next 2 days who really have no idea if they can play in the pros. They've done it in practice now enough, but they don't know what a game's like. And it's something different when you go out there and you see the helmet paint of the teams you watch your whole life, and you still got to execute, right? You can't be shocked by it. So you're just happy as a veteran to see guys get through that moment to where they think they can, they believe they can, and now they know they can. And the next step is whether they can do it time after time and continue to improve. Consistency does not mean do the same thing. It means constantly growing and getting better at your craft, and that's what you hope that the rookies can do.
There's every reason to believe that Shedeur Sanders believes that he can be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL and can be an NFL superstar. The rest of the teams in the league didn't seem to think that when they drafted him and saw him fall to the 5th round. But the Cleveland Browns are giving him an opportunity, maybe a little early, but he'll have the ball in the preseason tonight. What do you make of the whole Shedeur Sanders situation, the way Cleveland is handling things? And do you think they're setting him up for success by giving him the start in the preseason tonight?
Well, number one, I'm happy for Shedeur Sanders. An incredible collegiate career with a less than incredible offensive coordinator. Really put things together. Number two, there are things that happen behind the scenes that those of us in the NFL know. Some of it very wrong that was done to Shedeur Sanders. And number three, he's had the perfect attitude, right? I'm happy to be here, happy to work. He improved on his throwing mechanics. So it's one thing when all of us hear something or critique about our performance, the natural reversion is that person doesn't know what they're talking about, or I can do it my way. But what I like is Shedeur Sanders says, okay, that's the word on me. Watch me change. Watch me grow. And starting a preseason game, it's not the best, but you do get to start, and it is a validation of the work that you put in the couple of weeks. So I think that Cleveland got something perfect. They got 2 quarterbacks in the draft, but they've got the most attention on them than they've had, since they signed the Deshaun Watson deal. And this is probably the first good attention the Cleveland Browns have had probably in 20 years. So happy for Shedeur, happy for the Browns, and hopefully for the Browns fans out there, they get some wins, whoever the quarterback is.
With Ryan Harris, the Broncos up in your neck of the woods there. I think a lot of pundits like them to take another step after a good season last year with Sean Payton and Bo Nix. What are your expectations for the group?
Well, first of all, this is the first time that Bo Nix has had the same offensive coordinator and same offensive playbook for 2 straight years since his junior and senior year in high school. I mean, think about it. He went to back-to-back playoff games at Oregon, and he still had a new playbook. So I just got done talking to him today and getting ready to call the game tomorrow night. He said the biggest thing for him is he can go deeper now on the offense. He's not having to learn the terminology and formations, and that he knows what coach wants, and he knows how coach is going to respond. So he wants to be even more accurate than the 66% he had last year. Set a franchise record for passing touchdowns by a rookie. So, I mean, his name is already in the record books in the Broncos franchise along some of the greats like John Elway, who, by the way, had 4 passing touchdowns, I think it was, in his rookie season. So there's a tremendous amount to like about the most experienced and accurate quarterback in college history that put together a historic rookie season and got to the playoffs. And in no way is he satisfied. And that's the big thing. Can you not be satisfied with remedial success? And Bo Nix has answered emphatically, yes, he's not satisfied and he wants more.
Ryan, what do you think of the people who say they don't want any more of the Patrick Mahomes show? People that are bored of what's happened in Kansas City, and if the way that the things have gone for the Chiefs, where, I mean, look, last season they won how many games where we said, they didn't really deserve to win that game. And every good team and every winning team has a few of those.
That Raiders game, I still can't believe it. That Raiders game gets me every time. Oh,
they had a lot of those. And I don't think that a certain radio personality is in a small minority here of people who are maybe have grown tired of the Patrick Mahomes show and the Chiefs in that division.
Yeah, this is something I don't understand. You know, if you don't like winners, you don't like people who do it right the whole time. And sure, maybe the Oakland game last year was tough. And how about being a team that can believe through all of that, through all that failure to come out and win the game? How about being the team that gets beat up, but on the final field goal against the Broncos deflects the kick? They're willing to work harder. They're willing to work longer. And they're all in it for the right reasons. And last year they did it without a left tackle. You can't one year say, the left tackle, second most important position behind quarterback, and then they have Joe Thuney out there, a center, who has no idea what it's like to play on an island, and they get to the Super Bowl. So their roster betrayed them last year. I think that, Patrick Mahomes had his best play in the pocket. He continued to improve as a passer, and you had a tough last game of the year. So if you don't like winners, I don't understand you, and can't help you there. Maybe you can be a Maple Leafs fan or something like that. They need some.
There we go.
No, you wouldn't get tired of the Maple Leafs winning 5 or 6, but you do.
They don't win.
Mahomes,
they don't
right?
win.
So,
that's the problem. They don't win.
The people up here would not know what to do with themselves, Ryan. That was answered like a true Super Bowl champion. Fantastic answer by you.
Just don't understand it. But hey, everybody's entitled to their opinion.
I just want to see that offense explosive again. I think that's more so what it is. Like the last couple of years, it's been successful. It's been efficient, but the explosion since Tyreek Hill left has not really been there for that offense. Like last year, they were like 15th, last 2 years, 15th in points. But prior to that, this was a team that was putting up 30, 40 points on the regular.
Valid.
Well, a lot of that is going to be personnel, right? You lose Tyreek Hill, and it's going to affect your offense, right? You lose a guy that they nicknamed Cheetah, and your offense isn't going to be as good. Travis Kelce's getting older. Again, you had some offensive line problems, and then defensively, I mean, they've been about as stout as they can be. And look, guys, they beat everybody in the AFC. You asked them to, right? I mean, they beat everybody they could, and they lost to arguably the greatest and most respected player in current NFL history in Jalen Hurts, and a monster defense that was, by the way, on turf and not in the shifting grass they faced each other with before. So, I mean, they've done the best they can, but I'm telling you guys, from being in the huddles with greats like Peyton Manning, like Ben Roethlisberger, they don't think about losing. Even when they're down 14 in the fourth quarter, they just only think about winning. Because guess what? We know how to fail. We know how to put pieces together. But let's go keep this together. And that's what the Chiefs do better than anybody in the NFL. And I'm looking forward to them doing it again.
Look, they've got some competition in that division this season. I think a lot of people feel pretty good about the Broncos. Some people feel good about the Chargers as well. And who knows? Maybe the Raiders can be a real surprise. In your opinion, the Chiefs win in the division again?
No, I think you're going to get the Broncos, Chargers, or Raiders. I think enough teams now do not fear the Chiefs. And I think one of the things we talked about that Oakland game of the Chiefs early last year, you need those games as a team like Oakland, or last year, splitting the series again for the Broncos. You have to get over the big bad wolf in your division. And once you're not afraid of that big bad wolf, now things can start to go. So I think that's going to be really competitive. I think the Chargers surprised me with how well they played in the preseason, first game, all the things. But they've got to overcome a devastating loss at Houston in the playoffs, and I'm not convinced they can do it. So I think it's between the Broncos and Raiders.
Ryan, is there like a dark horse team out there that could make a run at the playoffs that isn't getting any hype right now heading into the season?
Tennessee Titans.
Ooh,
Everybody is underrating Cam Ward. I thought he should have came out last year. I thought he was the best quarterback last year. He's been lighting it up in training camp. He doesn't care about what you think about him. He heard Shedeur Sanders talking trash to him while he was practicing for the combine and stuff. So this is a guy who's built tough, built to win on a team with a great coach in Brian Callahan. And I just think that the Tennessee Titans are not getting enough credit for the team they're about to put on the field.
What do you make about these NFL preseason fights? I know they happen all the time. I know there's more cameras than ever. I know we're going to catch them more, and it makes for very good TV. But we had a fight this week at Patriots camp. Dolphins were fighting each other. I expect it when it's inter joint practices. I expect that. But it does seem to me like we're seeing a little more, or is it just because the cameras are showing more? Ryan, you were in the middle of enough preseasons.
Cameras, guys, and look. Coaches are trying to get away from it, but I'm going to tell you something else. People forget there are things that are said before that moment, right? And they're not the prettiest things, not safe for radio, right? So part of the preseason, too, is where's your point? Everybody's got a price. Everybody's got a point. And whatever trash talk gets you to that point, hey, okay, now they're going to use it against you in the game. Can you keep your mental acuity while someone's talking about taking off your tattoos? How you do that, I don't know, right? So, there's all kinds of things, and these are adults. This isn't like playing Xbox against 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds and you're swearing at them. There are real comments by real men about real people, and it can get you going. And at the same time, if somebody's getting mad because they're falling down the depth chart and wants to push after the play or something against somebody like me who's going to start 18 games, we're going to fight because I'm going to show you right now you don't have what it takes. And so fighting is a part of the NFL. Fighting is a part of life. And it's something that has been consistent and will be consistent in the NFL and every sports league when you pit professionals against each other.
Anthony Richardson got injured in the game yesterday, taking on the Baltimore Ravens. Is there more pressure on Richardson to perform this year or more pressure on Caleb Williams, last year's number 1 overall pick, to perform?
Caleb Williams, no question. Look, Anthony Richardson lost the NFL when he tapped out as a quarterback because he was tired. Maybe there was something going on that we don't know. I always got to give space for that. But Caleb Williams was the number 1 pick overall. And more than that, guys, I went and called their game last year against the Seahawks, and his parking spot's his first parking spot next to the GM. So he was one of the most sacked quarterbacks in college. That's a stat that doesn't change when you get to the NFL. And already you're seeing the reports out of Bears camp that are less than stellar. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that he turns it around and has a great career. But I got to call 3 of his games in college, and I'm seeing what I saw there. He's fantastic. When he's the best when he's the best athlete on the field, he'll never be the best athlete on the field in the NFL. And I think he's slowly starting to realize that, and he has to learn to play quarterback a different way.
I am very intrigued by the NFC North this season. I think, AB, you are too, maybe to a different extent than me. But I'm interested to see how the Lions play out this season because I don't know if I am in the majority or the minority of people who think that their window has closed because Dan Campbell and that team doesn't think so. But I'm fearful that their best chance to win in Detroit has passed them. What say you, Ryan?
I'm with you. I'm with you. It's passed. And look, they should have been in 2 Super Bowls, if not for Dan Campbell calling ridiculous plays in key moments at the end of games, right? He's the problem. And I'm not saying he's the wrong coach. I'm saying he needs to understand he's the problem, that his tackle-eligible plays that get called back, or, he showed the world he was terrified of Green Bay when he went for it on 4th down with the lead, right? So he's still playing wild card football. I think he thinks he's, Brett Favre as a head coach. But the Lions are in the most competitive division outside the AFC West in the NFL. All 3 of the 4 teams in the NFC North could be in the playoffs, right? The Vikings are going to be there, I think. I think you're going to be surprised by J.J. McCarthy, who, oh, by the way, won a national championship. You're going to be surprised by Green Bay, who finally now has some more receivers. And you're going to be there with the Lions, who have been there. But to your point, you can win as many and play in as many NFC championship games as you can. But if you start losing them all, it really doesn't make a difference. So I think Detroit's window is closed. If not, this is the last little stop before it does close, and they got to win now.
From one coach to another, I mean, this is McDaniel's cat to me. It seems like it always is in the media, whether he's saying some weird stuff to the media or he's breaking up fights like he did today in practice in Miami with their joint practice with the Bears. Miami fighting each other for some reason. Is he the coach on maybe the hottest seat going into this upcoming season?
I don't think so. I mean, players love him. He's productive. He's been to the playoffs, and look, there are tough places to play, and I'm sure this is the same way for the NHL and Canada. It's hard to be focused in Miami, guys, right? It's very, very hard, and he's still doing it with guys, and one of them, Tyreek Hill, got arrested on the way to the game last year, right? So he's dealing with things that most coaches aren't dealing with. I don't think he's on the hot seat. But I do think you have some tried and true established coaches on the hot seat. I think both Harbaughs are going to be on the hot seat. I mean, if you have that production and performance again as the Chargers, I don't know if they keep them. And the Ravens, how long are they going to be a great team that's one play away from the Super Bowl? I mean, it's been 20 years, guys. 20 years, right? So I think there's a lot of coaches on the hot seat, but I wouldn't say Mike McDaniels is one of them.
How much on the hot seat do you think Harbaugh is in L.A.?
I think the temperature's rising, and it depends on how they play, right? It depends on how they play. So, if you can come out of the gate and lead the AFC West, the first quarter of the season, you just want to see him putting distance between themselves and others, but you also don't want to see a continuation of the failures that happened at Houston in the playoffs last year. So hopefully it's an aberration. I think both Harbaughs are great coaches. Who's got it better than us? What a thing to say every day, right? And a heck of a creepy meme, too, from Harbaugh over there in L.A. So it's a hotter seat, especially considering the division and the performance. So I think it's pretty up there. I think he's one of the top 5 coaches that could get the axe if things don't go well. And even though it's his second year, you got to see improvement.
So many storylines, and it's still August. I look forward to chatting with you again, Ryan, and have a great weekend, man.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Peace.
Ryan Harris, the former Super Bowl champion and Westwood One NFL analyst, breaking it down for us ahead of what's going to be a busy, bet-filled weekend for UAB and anyone else who indulges on the preseason.
Yeah. I felt like he put me in a body bag when I was trying to explain my Patrick Mahomes take.
Right.
He's like, yeah, I've been in a huddle with Peyton Manning and Ben Roethlisberger, and these guys are just wired differently. It's all good. They'll be okay. I'm like, you're right. Yes, I should just listen to you. I'm going to stop talking. I'm like, all right, yeah, fair enough. Your explanation holds some weight there.
Maybe you can be a Maple Leafs fan.
Oh, that was tough. That one was tough, too.
He threw that back at you quick.
I'm surprised, though, that he believes that Jim Harbaugh is that much on the hot seat. They gave him a boatload of money last year.
They did, but
he's only been there for one season. I don't know why I didn't view him as a coach on the hot seat personally.
Age and window. I think that they think that their window is short.
But what, they only gave Harbaugh a 2-year window to win?
But also
short.
Yeah, it does. But look at his age. I think it's different now, right?
I think
Harbaugh? Yeah, for Harbaugh.
Coaches, they'll go into their 80s. Bill Belichick's 88 years old.
Not in today's NFL.
How old's Jim Harbaugh?
Not in today. He's in his mid-60s.
That's nothing in the NFL.
I think it's different now
Isn't Pete Carroll
61
73 years old?
Yes.
Pete Carroll is a dinosaur, and he's out there. He has probably more energy than Jim Harbaugh, realistically, at 73 years old.
Yeah, 73-year-old Pete Carroll.
No,
okay, 61 Jim Harbaugh. He just feels then like an older.
Well, because he's been around the game forever, right? The Harbaugh, the family has just been around forever. But
yes,
I don't know, man. Jim Harbaugh, I wouldn't be worried about him stepping away from football anytime soon. But it's more so just you finally got a respectable coach in LA with that organization, which I mean, you could argue, when was the last time they've had a respectable coach like that? Like Norv Turner, maybe? Like
I would say Norv, yeah.
Mid-2000s?
Yeah.
Since they've had a guy like him, you're gonna give up on that for 2 years? I don't think so.
I just think that the seat is naturally hotter in LA in general. And they're fighting for relevancy, and like I think that just it's against someone in that position, in his position. The threshold is just different.
They had dealt a pretty tough blow with Rashawn Slater tearing his ACL. I think he's out for the year. Their left tackle. And Brian Harris was talking about how the Chiefs didn't have a left tackle last year, and that played into kind of their sputtering offense. And now the Chargers going to have to try and get around not having Slater all season. We'll see what they can do.
Well, for 40 days, Toronto FC did not have a designated player, but they got one now. Georgie Mijailovic is the new man in Toronto, and he's going to be here on OverDrive next. He'll join us. This is OverDrive on TSN. Don't go anywhere. The final half hour to go here on Overdrive on this lovely Friday, the second Friday of August, as we all get ready for the weekend. And it will be a return for Toronto FC. The League's Cup break is over for TFC. And also the designated player drought that lasted a long 40 days is over, as an $8 million purchase for Georgie Mijailovic has brought the U.S. men's national team forward to Toronto. And we're very happy to bring him on the line now here and on the phone with us here on Overdrive. Georgie, it's a pleasure, man. Welcome to Toronto. Welcome to Overdrive.
Hey, thank you. Excited to be on the show.
It's great to chat with you, man. You're arriving at a very interesting time for this football club, at a very interesting time in this city, of course. Just what was the appeal, I guess, of this project for you that made you feel this was the right time, this is the right move, and this is going to happen right now for me?
Yeah, for me, and I said it a few times now, that when I think of Toronto FC, I think of trophies, I think of winning, I think of MVPs, the number 10s before me. When I first joined the league in 2017, that season, Toronto became the first team to win a treble. So when the name comes to my mind, I just think of those good moments in history for the club. And this idea came about maybe a week or two ago, and it all happened pretty quick, though, this last weekend. So I'm just really excited to join this historic club.
Well, I'm with you. Like I came to the city also that year, 2017, and watched, went down to BMO and watched the Reds play, those 3 years, the heyday of Javenko and Josie and Bradley, like the heyday of Toronto FC. So, like, how can you guys get back to that glory? What's the plan here?
I don't know if that's a question for me in particular. I'm part of a little piece of that puzzle, I think. But I guess it's that getting that feeling of ambition back. Like you say, those players you mentioned are all serial winners. A couple of national team for the U.S. national team legends, Giovinco. Those guys are top players, one of the best that this league has seen, and yeah, you get those types of players together with the right mentality, the players that know what it means to represent Toronto, and I think I'm gonna learn that over the course of my time here, what it means to represent this club. I have a teammate already, Jonathan Osorio, who was there at that time when they were winning all those trophies. So I look forward to talking to him about what it really means to represent this club. But yeah, it's about having that inner drive to bring that club back to where it belongs.
It's a real unique situation for you because you're looking for a big season, 2 impressive seasons to play your way into the U.S. men's national team, and a good performances here in Toronto can raise your stock for being in Mauricio Pochettino's outfit for next season in a city in which 2 big American internationals, Michael Bradley and Josie Altidore, were absolute superstars. Have you spoken to them? Were they amongst the first phone calls? Like, just how does it feel to be now kind of in that category and repeating a process or following footsteps, I should say, that they've taken?
Yeah, I took that thought into account, how it can play a role in that selection next year. But for me, that is the ultimate goal for a soccer player, to represent their country in a World Cup, and in order to do that, I think I have to be in an environment that's pushing myself to become better, an environment that's pushing to win all the titles in the season. And yeah, when this transfer was announced, Josie did message me telling me congratulations that I'm joining an amazing club. Of course, he had so much success here, but yeah, I'm joining an incredible club, and like you said, to have those national team players play here, and also at the time they represent the country as well. So it shows that maybe that path is going to work for me.
You should hit Josie up for Bills tickets, and if he gives you a few extra, you should toss them to my man Al's brother.
I would love that. I would love to go out there. Georgie, how would you describe your game and what you're going to bring to the Reds for the TFC faithful who will be down at BMO to take in the action?
I don't really know how to answer that question. I get asked all the time. How do I characterize my style of play? I guess I'm a player that goes off intuition, that goes off of what I feel in the moment. And number 10, is a player that probably has the least amount of time on the ball, and number 10 likes to pick up the ball in the final third where there's 3-4 players trying to mark you in a little space. So I have to go off of working and making decisions in a split second. So I try to create for my teammates, create for myself to score goals, because that's the fun part of the game, is scoring goals, and I try to create as much as I can for myself and my team.
This is a team that definitely needs some goals, as you well know. But this is a country in which you've played in before. You did play at CF Montreal. How would you compare, though, yourself as a CF Montreal player to where your game is now? Because it has changed, and you do feel the back of the net a lot more.
Yeah, it's certainly changed a lot. I like to think of myself as still young, but I was really young there. I was just leaving my hometown club. First time playing away from home, it was completely different. But now I guess I hope I have a bit more experience in the game. I have a family now. There's so much different. But I had a good time in Montreal. I lifted a Canadian Cup with the team. Made a good playoff run my last year there. Played with a few other Canadian national team players who also made moves to Europe. But now I'm coming, like you said, I did manage to find the back of the net myself a bit more since. So I think when I got there versus now, I guess that's the biggest difference is being a bit more clinical for myself and in front of goal.
Well, how do you feel about being on the other side of that rivalry between TFC and CF Montreal?
It's nice to know that it's not dead yet. My Instagram DMs is sure to remind me of that. No, it's good. It's really good. I was taught to hate a certain club when I played for Montreal, and now I'm going to be taught to hate the other club playing for Toronto. So it's good.
Yeah. You mentioned a couple of players that you will be playing with, though, and also a couple of players that are expecting to have big summers next year, or hoping to have big summers at a home World Cup, in Jonathan Osorio and Richie Laryea. Just speak to a little bit about playing with them and your thoughts from being an opposing player and now being their teammate.
Yeah, no, I'm really excited to play with them, and of course the rest of the team. Like you said, they're going to represent Canada in a World Cup next year, and the whole buzz around the club is going to pick up even more when the World Cup comes to Canada. But like you said, they're incredible players. They both have had incredible careers so far. So Richie, in particular, being a defender, I did come across him a few times and get a couple hard tackles. So I'm glad he's on my team now. I'm probably going to feel it still in training, but when you have guys like that are going to push each other every day in training, it's just going to raise the level as a team.
I've never shared the pitch with Richie Laryea, but he does seem like the definition of a guy that you would much rather have as your teammate than play against. Absolutely. But lastly, on a couple of players that you were referring to that you did play with at Montreal that have gone on to have careers in Europe, and one has made a move, and Ishmael Kone has now gone to the Serie A. Alistair Johnson has had a ton of success and has won a lot of trophies at Celtic. Just maybe speak to how you've seen and followed kind of those guys' careers and what you think they'll bring, or the pieces that they're a part of for the Canadians men's national team. Because I know you're watching with the American eye, but you're going to field a lot of Canadian questions now, and you've got some experience with some two guys that are a big part of that team.
Yeah, no, we still have a group chat from my time in Montreal with those guys, and when this transfer went through, of course that group chat was pretty hot. Just talking about the time we spent together, talking about the state of the Canada national team. My previous coach Chris and Canada's coach Jesse Marsh are very close. So when I was in Colorado, he would always tell me about Jesse's time with the Canada national team and how things are going, and it's an incredible time for the Canada as a soccer country. You've seen the last 4 or 5 years, the sport has blown up. Quality all over the world now for representing Canada. So I think it's a really exciting time for this nation. And quite honestly, I'm really excited to be in Toronto when the World Cup comes. Hopefully I'm representing the U.S. at that time, but it's just going to be a really exciting time for all the countries.
Yeah, it is one of the best cities in the world, and during the World Cup, it'll certainly be one of the best.
Don't take it personal, though. If you get the booze, if you're playing down at BMO with the American kid on, the boos are coming. I can guarantee you that.
No problem. No problem. That's what makes the sport fun.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, the Toronto FC fans are definitely looking forward to having some more fun down at BMO and looking forward to watching you. So, Georgie, appreciate it. Welcome to the city, man, and enjoy it. Looking forward to see you out there on the field.
Thank you. Nice meeting you guys.
Georgie Mijailovic, Toronto FC's new designated player, new star man. The Lorenzo Insigne and Federico Bernardeschi era ended on July 1st.
Yeah.
And now it's another American that will take that
how much
big
more
weight of that designated player tag.
Well, how much more pressure you think is on him to live up to that designated player tag? Because, like, it didn't work out well when the Italians came through, and it crippled the franchise for a couple of years.
It is new that in Major League Soccer, teams can use cash to purchase a player and not have to trade bodies as we do in North American sports or other financial assets that are used in other ways, but as what you would call a trade. It has to be something comparable. The rest of the soccer world is just cash. You have a player under contract for how long? I like him. Here's this much money. This is brand new in Major League Soccer. And an $8 million purchase is a lot because it's 20 million Canadian, but it's also it's a lot in that league. So there will be pressure on Georgie Mijailovic as well. But he is someone who proved in Colorado in 53 games he bagged 20 goals in a season and a half, or about 2 seasons. Season and a half, excuse me. So he's someone that will be expected to score goals here, but is someone who's scored goals in this league. And I think that's exactly why management identified Georgie Mijailovic as someone that this team needed to help rebuild and restart a new era, because the way things have gone before and the way they look to assemble the team by finding guys that could score goals in other places, that didn't work out. So from that aspect, I know that Toronto FC fans are hopeful that this era will be different. And while, there is a rivalry between Canada and the U.S. that will never go away, and the hot seat is the temperature might be a little hotter now than it has been before, I think that it's familiar to see an American in TFC red scoring goals.
Yes,
so,
that's not foreign to us,
yes,
right? Like Josie and Michael Bradley were, you could argue, two of the greatest TFC players to play, like to put on the uniform.
Absolutely, so they would definitely be on Legends Row, and Georgie Mijailovic may play himself into that over the next few seasons. Sean Johnson, also American, one of the best goalkeepers in Major League Soccer still, and someone who Georgie was familiar with. They came up together at the same time, albeit Georgie a little bit younger. I should say that Sean Johnson was a veteran, but they were in Chicago together. So some familiar faces, and Robin Fraser was the ex-coach of the Colorado Rapids, although their time didn't overlap. But it was nice of Georgie Mijailovic to make some time for us today on the show. When are we going to get to a game at BMO Field? Like, what's the next? You referenced the treble winning, the 2017. That was like your time.
That was I don't think I've been to a game.
There's no cousins, no Italians dragged you out for Bernardeschi and
I'm not. I didn't grow up here, so it's not like I got a bunch of like Paisan cousins up in Vaughan, right?
Doesn't
like
everyone have them up in the bridge?
I'm not from this area.
No, I understand that, but if there's like. Everyone, it just seems like every Italian, whether you grew up in Windsor or whether you grew up in Abruzzo or you grew up in New Jersey.
Enough, like my family never really made their way north, I guess, from the falls. Like everyone kind of stayed in that area. A couple people went over the border, but not a lot of family in Toronto. I'm the only one who moved up here.
Let me give you one more soccer question, okay?
Yep.
As someone who appreciates soccer but would not describe themselves as a soccer person, how big do you think the World Cup will be in this city? Because I always call this one of the best places in the world to be during a World Cup.
Yeah.
Now it's actually going to be
massive.
Here.
It's, you want my actual? It's going to be a disaster when it comes to infrastructure trying to house the millions of people that are going to be here. Yeah. In terms of the soccer aspect, I think it's going to be amazing. It's such a multicultural city, and there's so many pockets of massive football fans.
There we go. I like that.
Yeah. Football.
Or football with an accent over the U if you really want to get Spanish with it. Yeah.
That's right. And I think everyone's going to buy in. It always happens that way. It doesn't matter. That's the Canadiana in sports. People Canadians get really excited about something that's ours. Look at the Vicky Mboko thing. How many Canadians truly knew who Vicky Mboko was 3 weeks ago?
Not many.
Not many. But I guarantee you a heck of a lot more know who she is now and is excited for her to compete at the U.S. Open.
Exactly.
Right?
And
So
watch it. Yeah.
it's the same. It's a similar situation where it's like it's our World Cup, right? We're gonna get to watch Canadians on home soil. It's gonna be special, very special. So I'm excited. Like as a fair weather soccer fan who watches the odd game here, more of an international soccer fan. I'm jacked up for the World Cup to come. The traffic, it's gonna be interesting.
Infrastructure-wise, I don't know what the World Cup will look like for me. I feel like 6 games here in Toronto. It's going to be a messy place.
You thought getting here today on the 401 and DVP was difficult. You wait until 2026.
Might just need to rent a room at BMO Field for the entire month.
Yeah,
might have to do the same with MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. But things will be things should be different for Toronto FC, and that was the whole point of bringing in Georgie Mijailovic, who should be available on Saturday, tomorrow night, when DFC are back in action there in Philadelphia. So appreciate Georgie Mijailovic taking the time for us in Philadelphia after making the flight today after his introductory press conference. We're not yet ready to put a bow on this show. This is OverDrive on TSN 1050.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
The final few minutes of Overdrive here as we close out a Friday. And hey, you can help support our local students too. A $25 donation provides one backpack for a student, and $30 total ensures it includes all the essentials as TSN 1050 partnering with the Toronto District School Board to help support kids going back to school. I can't believe September's just around the corner. Head to tsn1050.ca to make your donations today.
You still got a couple years before the young one hits school, right?
I do, and I really feel it. You know, I do feel like that I have to decide the best things to do in my life.